Leash girl.
Hey y'all, hey!
Hey, Leash. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
I can. It's a little delay, but I can hear you.
Uh-oh. Is that better?
Let me see. Talk to me. Talk to me, girl.
Hey, T, hey!
My
Is that
screen looks good.
better?
My screen
Yes.
looks good. I have a new screen. I have a new interior designer, but he gave me the same same look.
What you get? What you get? I need to get the same thing. Listen, what you got? We gotta
You know,
share.
they always talk about we in the same room, but I thought I got a different same
No, we we,
design.
we got the same screen, boo. Listen, listen. We like what we like.
That's
They,
it.
they ain't gotta like it. We don't
It
care.
worked. Hey,
Right.
Mr. Turner, how you doing?
Hey, Misha Mish. Hey, author Jennifer. I always say her name
We
wrong.
call her Jennifer R.
Ragosa. Ragosa. Hey, all the way to Cali.
Yeah, they
Child,
put me in early.
listen. Welcome to Let's Chat, y'all. We got a good show today, and we got so much to chit chat about, y'all. So we had to come on a little early. I got the blinds open. Y'all know that my production has gone off to college.
My production is standing here making sure that we straight, though, and I thank him for it.
Yes, listen, my production has gone off to college, so I got to do my own lighting. I got to do all them things myself. Why? Because he gone off to college, but that's okay. That's okay. That's
We gonna make it work. You riding
okay.
solo?
Absolutely. Welcome to Let's Chat, y'all. We got a great show today, y'all. We came on early because we got stuff to talk about. We got stuff to talk about. You seen them debates, T?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Listen.
I have to say this, Leash. Hubbalicious is a news junkie, right? For me,
Okay.
I'm a sports junkie. But my last couple of operations, I had to be home. So, he kind of like off season, he kind of dominates the news. Don't tell him I said that. But he dominates the news. And I kind of become absorbed in it. So now, even when he's not home, I'm watching CNN. Can you imagine?
See, when two come together as one, sometimes you will tend to do the things that he does, and he will tend to do the things that you do. I mean, it's all in love. But I can understand hogging the TV is hogging the TV. I'm not saying you hogging the TV, but we saying you might be hogging the TV.
But don't let a good game be on, because then he be up there. And especially when Eli was playing, he used to talk about my boy. I'm like, now look, we're not going to be having Eli bashing.
Y'all know T is a sports fanatic, y'all. She is Miss Sports 101. 2021, we trying to get Let's Chat Sports popping with her and Mr. Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna
Sounds
see
like a
how
plan.
we're gonna get that popping in 2021. I'm so excited. We got so much going on. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, y'all. Listen, the debate. Let's talk about it, people. Let's talk about it. We ain't gonna talk about the fly just yet.
I'm not even going to tell you our fly scenario here in this household. We talking about
Listen,
fly, girl.
listen,
You said on air.
Susan. Listen, Susan. I know you are an author. This me and you talking, Susan. Come a little closer. Come on, Susan. Come on. This me and you talking, Susan. Baby, I'm gonna need you to get a little backbone there, boo. Just a little bit. I understand they may not be your thing, but you are an author, boo. So you gotta have, you gotta be able to have some control over the situation.
Okay.
And if you gotta say his name more times than that, then
Something wrong.
you need to become more aggressive in your speech, like, sir, that will be enough. We won't
Mm-hmm.
have no more of that.
And
And,
that'll
I
be
mean,
that.
and that'll be that. Now, if you would like me to turn your mic off, I can make that happen too.
To make that happen.
Listen, Susan, we We know you were privileged to be able to experience this, but we hope you do not moderate the next one.
Okay.
Or the guy that
Especially-
did the presidential election. Listen, we no. We need
Not
better moderators. We need some moderators. I'm just saying. We
some
need
strong
moderators that have control over the situation. Because I
You know-
will say that there was no type of respect whatsoever.
Can you imagine you and I doing that, Leash? We will have total control.
No, I cannot. Listen,
The
we will
lady
be on a terrorist list. Y'all get these two up out of here. Who do they think they talking to? We are talking to you. Going over there, sit down.
we are not having that. That is not how it goes on Let's Chat.
Oh man, listen. What did y'all think about the debates? Did y'all watch? Misha, Jennifer, did y'all watch the debates? What did y'all think about the debates?
Please chime in. And we're going to talk about that fly later.
Yo. Listen, when that fly hit the top of that boy head, I was like, you know what? You full of it.
I don't think you were alone in that comment.
I was like, that was a sign. That was a sign right there. Because that fly could have went on anybody's head.
And he stayed there for a long time.
It sat on your head. Not for a few minutes it flew away. It stayed there for a hot minute. It like made itself home. It was something that drew that fly to your head. And baby, listen, I don't know what you wash your hair with. I just don't know the energy you're carrying, sir, but I need you to go ahead on and get that taken care of.
ASAP.
ASAP. Y'all know we get on here, we get to talking, y'all. I'm gonna start tea.
Absolutely. Welcome, everybody. You're here on our Thursday night. At least it's been a minute since we said that. Thursday night edition of Let's Chat Live. And we can y'all tell we ready for it? Now, Lisa and I, we started our Let's Chat journey about 6-7 years ago. We actually started out on the radio, this new wave of interacting, seeing us face to face is new, but it's fun. I'm getting used to it. But we started, because we celebrate literature. We used to just celebrate literature, but now we celebrate the dopeness of all the arts. You name it, they have been through the doors of Let's Chat, and we so appreciate everyone for spending some of their precious time with Leash and I. But tonight, Leash, we have an amazing show. We have such an influential lineup with so much talent, so much jewels to drop. So we hope you guys are ready, and please get those pens and paper ready. Leash, I got my pens and paper. I'm ready to go because there are going to be some jewels drop tonight.
You hear me? When I say jewels drops tonight, so this is my thing. I have actually been thinking about this topic for about 2 years now. And 2 years ago we started doing our more publishing side episodes because I just felt like there wasn't enough talk about the business side of books. And I came across a lot of clients kind of bumping around in the dark, not really knowing what to do, when to do it, and not sure on how to get their footing, especially in self-publishing. And then not really knowing how to get their footing when it came to wanting to be signed to a publisher, not understanding the business side of the industry once they get signed. I don't care if you have a publisher or not. You should know the business side of this industry. Anything that you step into, you have to know it because you know it, not because somebody's just telling you, but you got to know for a fact what it is so that you know how to move around comfortably in this new lane that you have created. And so time went on, and so I said, okay, let's go do the show. We're going to do that this year. We're going to do that this year. So I've been working on this for months. When I say months, I think I started in June or July. And I reached out to my Rolodex. And a lot of them were busy. It's okay because I understand. They do their thing. So I contacted the ones that I could contact. And boom. And it just so happens because I wanted people that were very versed in the history of literature, first of all, and in the history of African American literature, as well as the business side. I needed people that knew how to move. They have been successful on all levels. Each of these guests have been successful on every level. Some are signed, most of them are hybrid, so they're signed. They do self-publishing, they're publishers, and they all know the industry very well, and they know the history of it. And I think we need that. I posted the other day, well, yesterday, where, Tyler Perry talked about, fighting for a seat at the table. And I think being a literary agent, I find that we fight for a seat at the table. Yeah. And that's our end all be all. And I love being a literary agent because I love helping people, but I just don't feel that's the end all be all. I feel like, just like Tyler Perry said, you don't have to fight. You don't have to wait for somebody to tell you you're great. You can create your own table. I guarantee if you set that table up right, they're going to come and sit down at your table gladly, with no problem. And when they come, when people come visit you at the house, they're not going to come empty-handed. They're going to have something in their hand when they come. Just like when you go to people's house, they expect you to bring something. They're coming into your house. They're going to have something. And I just really feel like if you are, I'm not saying don't try to get published, don't try to get queried, do all of that. But make sure you have breadcrumbs that lead back to you. You are a brand, you are a business. And you have to have something for you. If you give everything to everybody else, you don't have nothing for yourself.
That's right.
And you got to have something for yourself. You got to have that ownership.
So true. And a lot of people, they don't even realize that they are extending themselves so much that when it's time for them to, put something back in them, they could be drained. They are burnt out. They have no more to give. So save some of those breadcrumbs, like we said, and fill yourself, and not necessarily continue to just, it's okay to give, but you have to give yourself as well.
Absolutely. If you can get signed to Simon & Schuster, boom, go for it. If you can get signed to Pegasus, boom, go for it. Do what you do. Carl Weber, go for it. But make sure you got something, a breadcrumb that's going to lead back to yourself. Make sure you got something in your library that leads back to you.
Absolutely.
So I was talking to Kimberly Lawson Roby, and she had an event on this day, and she could not be on the show. But she gave me a link to a New York Times Magazine article that talked about the racism in the industry. And I did an interview the other day. I do magazine interviews for a client. And it was so funny because it was her 10th year anniversary. And that is what she talked about. She talked about 10 years ago when she stepped into the literary world, the type of racism she experienced, which was very discouraging. And she didn't allow it to discourage her because she knew she had a story. She knew she had something good to say that she wanted to be able to share with the world. And so that's what caused her to self-publish. And she felt like that was the best thing she had ever done. But she said that, she talked about her experiences with trying to be signed with the bigger labels. And she said, yes, it was very discouraging. And she did feel like she was waiting for somebody to tell her work was great. And and for a minute she felt like, well, maybe it's not that good if they're not replying to my agent. Maybe it's just not that good. And I told her the story that Victoria Christopher Mary tells all the time, how when she first came out, when her agent first started pitching her book, how I think she said it took 2 years, a year or 2 years for her to even get a deal. Right. And I told her, I said, you did what you were supposed to do. Your lane is paved just for you. Can't nobody tell you how it should be, how it should not be. Right. You have to move the way you are designed to move. God will place those people in your path that need to come in your path on your journey. But it was meant for you to self-publish. It was meant for you to be able to go in and learn that process and have that ownership over your book and over
Mhm.
your brand.
Mhm.
So, and she wasn't the only author that has expressed that type of racism in the industry. What do you think about that, T? Racism in the literary world?
It's definitely prevalent in the literary world, and not just literary, it's all over. But our focus tonight is the literary world, and you come sometimes wonder, you know, you don't want no one to define you. You don't want no one
Yeah.
to define your work. You don't want no one to define your talent. And I think a lot of times we get pigeonholed in something
Mm-hmm.
that was designed by someone else, you
That's right.
know? And we have to realize that we don't necessarily have to stay in that hole, because
Absolutely.
we can go and do whatever we want to do. And like
Mm-hmm.
we always tell our guests, people that write are powerful. Those words are powerful. They touch so many in so many different ways, that use that power to
Mm-hmm.
empower yourself, and not necessarily have someone define who you are and where you should be in any way, any avenue of this world, whether it be literature, business, whatever it is. Don't let no one pigeonhole you into their thinking of where you should be.
Absolutely. And my other thought process was, there was a renaissance time of African American literature
Right.
where we had our own table. Our table was popping.
Mm-hmm.
And our table caused other publishing companies to want our authors. That's just how good our table was. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that it can go back to being that. I think that times have changed, things have changed, and the industry had to learn how to pivot in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel that we could go back to the Renaissance. We could probably be better than that. We could be
Mm-hmm.
stronger, and we need to know how to be better, how to be stronger, how to evolve, so that our table can be popping, so that our table can be prevalent, where we don't have to sit at anybody else's table. They're gonna want to come and sit at our table, and they're gonna
Right.
want us to come and sit at theirs,
Right.
just by the way we're moving. But I find that in this industry, a lot of times people are not sure how to move. They don't know ideas on how to pivot, especially in COVID.
Right.
That's this is like a big lesson of how to pivot in business.
Mm-hmm.
I, go
You know,
ahead, Z.
I'm sorry, you talk about the Renaissance and us being better, and I do feel that we can, because I think that our authors and their words have evolved just
Mm-hmm.
from our ancestors in this business. And I think that they evolved to, whereas they won't necessarily have their work watered down to fit into someone else's cup,
Box.
So I do think that we can be better, and that we are better, and we bring a whole lot to the table, like you say. We have some powerful authors in any genre. And I think that's where we need to expand, because we don't have to necessarily be relegated to street lit. We don't necessarily have to be relegated to erotica, because our voices are so much more. They bring so much more to the table. And it's just a matter of being positioned where you can get recognized.
Absolutely, and not just that, because Streetlit has always been around. I always talk about
Mm-hmm.
Cordelia the Crude. Cordelia the Crude came out in the Renaissance time. It's just
Mm-hmm.
depending on what state and age we are in, it's going to take its own shape of the experience of the people at that time. And that's really what Streetlit is. It's the experience of the people, the experience of that person, but everybody does not experience the same thing. And I like what you said, T, about not pigeonholing itself. As
Mm-hmm.
creatives, I think, especially African American authors, we are the most creative people.
Yes.
But we lack organization sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think in that we get complacent. You don't have to just write one genre. You want to write multiple genres. You
Right.
need to make sure that you're marketable on all levels. Like
Right.
Juanita Clark, she's writing a fantasy book. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so many authors are switching it up and making sure that their library can go for any type of audience. And
Right.
I think that that is a necessity. Making sure that your first of all, your category, your
Uh,
library and catalog is on point. Because every book you write is not gonna hit. It's okay. Everybody not gonna like everything you write. That's okay too.
Right.
But when that one book does hit, trust and believe, they're going back to that catalog. So you want to make sure your catalog is on point. So that's your breadcrumb.
Right.
That's people going back to your pen. So you want to make sure that's tight and on point. You want to make sure you're always looking at creative ways to market yourself. Don't get yourself inside of a box. And when you find yourself just like, I need something new, start looking around. Look at different things that other people are doing to pivot and find your niche in that to help you pivot in the industry as well.
Right. Absolutely. And I'm one of those that if I find an author and I find a good book, I am one of those readers that will go back and get everything that author has read. So you always want to make sure that catalog is tight. Even if you've written 10, 12 years ago, go back, update that work, tighten it up. You may not have necessarily been able to afford an editor back then. Can you do it now? Tighten that up, because every reader, you never know where a reader is going to pick up your book in your journey. It could be 10 years from now, but you've been writing for 20.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. We have some of the greatest people on today that we're going to talk that talk. We're going to have that serious talk. We're going to have that talk in ways that we need to hear. Sometimes we need to hear the harshness of what needs to happen for us to make things happen. We need ideas to help us to elevate and grow and be stronger and better. If you got people on your team that do not represent growth, you got the wrong team going on. You got to have growth in everything you do. Your mindset has to be focused on growth. And in this industry, you have to look at longevity. There's so many authors that have had that longevity, and some have never been published by a big publisher before at all. So it's possible. It can be done, but it's a lot of work. And I always tell people, you grind not, you want not.
That's right. That's so true. And we have such a diversified guest list tonight, Leash. They each bring something to the table uniquely theirs. So I am going to be so excited to pick their brains. Like I said, I got my pen and paper. We hope everyone that's listening and got their pen and paper, because
absolutely
some major jewels tonight. Jury boxes are going to be filled up.
Absolutely. I'm excited. First, I want to say happy birthday to author and publisher Ty Marshall. Happy birthday, Ty.
Happy birthday, Ty.
And I want to say happy anniversary to Wade and Cheryl Hudson. Y'all, they've been publishing for 32 years. Now, listen, longevity is possible. You might have to create your own lane to do it, but it's possible to do it. And when you do it, always reach back and help somebody else do it. And we have the fabulous. So tonight we got y'all. Listen, I'm excited. We got Shannon Holmes, been in the industry for a minute and still relevant. We have Cyrus Webb. We have Blake Carrington. We have Kumwan up in here. Sean St. Clair is going to join us, y'all. This is going to be a great, great day full of jewels, like T said. So we got about 2 minutes, y'all. 2 minutes before we bring everybody in. Go get your pencil and paper. Get your pencil and paper. Because, and I'm not going to say just African American authors. I think this is going to be for everybody that is an author. Every author is going to find something that they can take. And our whole purpose at Let's Chat is always to set a fire up under somebody. To set that fire to push you. To say, y'all, listen, I saw this and I'm going to try these things. Do it.
Absolutely. Do it. Leash. And I've been thinking about this. I even dragged Hubbylicious into. I'm like, what do you think about the African American, literary community? So I've been hearing it from various people, just to get a cap on where they are and what they see and what they feel that's needed. So I'm excited about tonight. We have some repeat guests, and Cyrus is one of them. He always shares some jewels. I love when he visits us. And we have some new ones to the Let's Chat. So guys, get ready. Stephanie says she got a pen and paper check.
Yes, author SF Hardy, y'all. She is a children's author, y'all. She got this new book, Dancing Monkeys in My Soup. We got Joy Lynn Ross in the house.
Yes.
Joy, listen, Path to Publishing. If y'all are even folks trying to focus and figure out how to do it, how you want to do it, how can you do it, she is a great source. And the best part about any of these authors, they've been in the industry. I want to say we possibly got about a good 50, 60 years in literature right now, just with the people that we have on here.
I think we got Joy Lynn alone has 22 years.
That's right. Okay, so that's 30. That's
the husbands, they have what, 30-something years. Oh my God.
So listen, this is literature. This is African American literature. So y'all get ready. I am so excited. We're gonna start bringing everybody in.
All right.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hey.
What's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Cyrus.
Hello. How you doing, Tony?
We're excited to have you guys.
We're excited to be here.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're so excited. We love that you guys have all been able to come in and share your time and space here with us in the chat room. We want everybody to, we introduce each of you a little bit. We want everybody to just tell a little bit about yourself. Okay, so we got a little background. So if anybody has their Facebook up, I need you to mute your site. And the way you mute your site is the tab at the top. Just right click it and you'll be able to mute your site. If you have your phone on, you want to turn the volume down if you have a second device, or put on some cancellation ears.
What about now?
Let's see.
That was
okay.
I was guilty.
Nope. One more person. I hear a little background. Let me make sure it's not me. Is that better, Steve?
Huh?
Is that better? Nope, I'm still hearing it. I'm trying to. Hold on. Let me get my IT hat going.
You got it, Shannon?
Hello?
So you're going to mute the site. So in order, if you're on a computer or a laptop, you're just going to go to the top tab where it says Facebook. You're going to right click it and you're going to be able to mute the site.
I'm good. I'm not on Facebook. I'm good.
Okay.
All right.
Hey.
What's good, brother?
Hey.
Y'all, I want to say we probably got almost 80, 90 years of literature right here. I got some feedback. Let's see who it is. Hold on.
You can round it up to 100.
Easily.
I think so.
Hold on. I'm just trying to narrow down where it's at. Hello?
Yeah.
Cyrus, I think it's your site. Do you have are you muted on social media?
Let's see.
Show you're
Well,
in the show.
Yeah, it says it's muted. Let's see.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's still a little feedback though.
You should call the man out.
Cyrus, you are sideways.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's see.
All right. I think we got it, y'all.
All right.
So we want to welcome everybody to Let's Chat. I'm still hearing it.
Let me see. It's not mine, though.
All right. Cyrus, Can you turn your screen?
As we look at you like this guy.
Okay. Well, hey, you're doing better than me. I can't even see you. So hold on, let me see. I think I hit the wrong thing. Let's see.
I think he froze.
All right, y'all. I think we got it. We just waiting on Cyrus. We've talked a little bit about each of y'all, but I want you guys just to talk about briefly about your literary journey. You guys have been in the industry for so long. We want y'all to touch on it so that people know. Just starting from the bottom and moving your way up. And we're gonna start with Blake.
Okay. So I get to kick it off, huh?
You gotta kick it off, Blake.
So I mean, I think we talked about this briefly before. You know, I started in the book industry selling books and mainly just doing retailing. And then I did my first publishing was with Danielle Santiago. That was the first act of me actually getting into the publishing side of it. The reason why I got into the writing side, he's up on top of me now. I see the glasses now, bruh. is Shannon.
Yo, I didn't even know that was you. I didn't know that was you. I was like, Blake, I didn't know what, Blake? Your name tag is covering your face, so I couldn't see you.
Oh, word. So Shannon got me into the writing part of it with the first book, which was All or Nothing. And, you know, that got me fully engrossed into looking at it from a bigger side, because prior to that, I really was just, you know, into the retail. And even with the publishing, it was so new because back then it wasn't a lot of Black distribution outside of a place called Culture Plus Books. And so dealing with them for a while, and like I said, when it really started to hit, the urban market started opening up from the writing side, we moved on into the ebook side, and currently, you know, that's mainly what we've been doing is the ebook and small amounts of paperbacks and things along that line. But that's kind of been the journey in a quick. I know we got about 5 or 6 people that got to go through it, so I won't make mine very, very long like that. But that got me into the urban. I've been here from way back when we just was doing paperback books, and you know, now doing the ebook.
Absolutely.
That's a quick summary of it.
Absolutely. And we're going to go to Mr. and Mrs. Hudson.
Well, hello. We are so happy to be joining all of our publishing and creative friends. We're the old guard here. We started our Wade and Cheryl Hudson, and our company is Just Us Books, and we branded ourselves. Really, we started out as parents looking for great books and images for our kids, and having a difficult time to find them in the marketplace, not get marginalized. We decided to step out on a leap of faith and publish our own books. I had worked in publishing for over 17 years before we published our first book. Wade is a writer, has worked in promotion, had worked in universities, public relations. He'll tell you a little bit more about our journey.
Yeah, we actually started Just Us Books in 1988, so we are celebrating our 32nd year in the industry. As Cheryl said, we recognized that there was a need for books for our children that reflected the Black experience, Black history, Black culture, and there were very few books like that in the marketplace. Cheryl and I had written a couple of manuscripts, and we had taken them to some major publishing houses, and they weren't interested in these stores. They said that there was no market. In fact, one editor told us that Black people don't buy books. So we knew that wasn't true. So rather than continuing to knock on the door trying to convince them that there was a market for these stores, we decided to start our own publishing company. We started, you know, with a very small budget, but I think we were blessed because a lot of people sort of embraced our mission when we first started. So we got a lot of support that we did not anticipate. When we started, there were like a handful of us actually publishing books at the time. Third World Press, Black Classic Press, Africa World Press, Kitchen Table Press. Those were the four presses, Black-owned presses. And Just Us Books became the first press to focus exclusively on books for children and young adults. And so over the 32 years, we've had our ups and downs. We've had our successes. We've published hundreds of titles. We've also given many authors and illustrators opportunities to be published. Many of them have gone on to really fantastic careers in the industry, like Sharon Draper. We published Joylyn, and did, in fact, her book won the Coretta Scott King Award for illustrations. And again, we want to take up all the time. We've been here so long, so our story is long.
Absolutely. Cyrus.
Hello. Hopefully I got the tech issue fixed. That's not really my strong suit, but hopefully it's it's fixed now. My name is Cyrus Webb. I'm the president of Conversations Media Group. Unlike the talented group that's here, I mean, our publishing mainly is the magazine, Conversations Magazine, which started in 2006. So we're just celebrating 14 years with the magazine. We now have over 17,000 print subscribers to the magazine. Starting last year, we signed a mini deal through Amazon to be able to use KDP to be able to publish the magazine and also to use our national advertisers there. So we've been doing that now since 2019. But that's really been the big part of my publishing. I am the author of a few books myself. I've worked with some individuals in helping them publish their own books, but I would say my main publishing experience would come from the magazine side with Conversations Media Group, and of course I host a radio show.
Absolutely. Sean Sinclair.
Yes. How you doing? So my publishing journey started back in 2005. I finished my first book in 2005. I was still away on my vacation. I was sent to get submitted. I got 2 deals with some mini majors. Neither one of those worked out. So I used the money that I did get from them to start my own company. In 2012, I released my first book, Forbidden, as well as creating my own genre called Gangster Erotica, which is erotic crime fiction. It's pretty much, I've merged my favorite 2 genres, urban/crime fiction and erotica. Came up with my own subgenre books called Gangster Erotica. My first book was Forbidden. It went on to sell 30,000 copies independently, paperback, just going out, hitting the streets like I wanted to. Along that process, I learned a lot about the publishing business as a whole. So fast forward a couple of years, I actually signed a deal with Kensington Publishing about 3 years ago, and I re-upped with them a couple years ago. And so once I was on the shelf with them, I decided to go ahead and start helping other authors, because I noticed when I was out here on the circuit, I saw a lot of talent, but we just didn't have the proper know-how. And I know that if we increase the bottom line, the top line will always go higher. So I decided to utilize my expertise and help other authors publish their books. And that's when we switched to pen-to-pen multimedia/publishing, where we publish other authors' books as well. Our whole goal is to get more of us into the marketplace, because I know what it was like going in with discrimination, lack of resources. So I figured that we can use our platform to bring more quality manuscripts at a great price point. And that's what we did. So Pen to Pen Publishing as a company has been around since 2012. And we've been servicing authors since 2016, 17 maybe. And just learning on the process.
Absolutely. And Joylyn.
Hi, ladies. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on Let's Chat, and happy 14th birthday to your magazine, Cyrus, and happy 32nd birthday, Just Us Books. It's been an honor to be able to say that I am one of your authors. It has been an amazing ride, and Cyrus, you've been such a support. So again, happy birthday on your magazine. I'm Joylyn M. Ross. I've written under several names throughout my over 22-year literary industry career. I've written as Joylyn M. Jostle. I've written as Joy. I've written as Ian Joy. I've written as N. Joy. And now, as of late, I'm writing under my name, Joylyn M. Ross. I'm writing and publishing resources. I've taken time out from having the pen in hand to put my pen down so that other authors and writers and just those with a message to deliver can pick their pens up, can keep their pens in their hands. And I do so by teaching them about the business of writing, about the business of publishing, making sure that I like to call myself a literary educator, making sure that they know their roles and their duties out as an author, knowing that publishing is a business. Writing can be a love, writing can be a passion, writing can be a hobby, writing can even be your ministry, but publishing is a business. And so my goal with Path to Publishing is not only to offer literary services and author support, but to educate them on the process, on the business side of writing. It's their IP, it's their intellectual property. Every business starts with a thought, an idea, and a concept. Every book starts with a thought, an idea, and a concept. So our books are our business, not the whole business, but the foundation in which we can build multiple streams of income.
Absolutely. And Shannon.
Hey, what's going on? What's up? How you doing?
I'm good.
I think my story is pretty well. It's been well told. A lot. You know, I came into the literary industry from prison. Probably was the first to do that. Definitely was the first person to sign a deal from jail and get an advance in jail. So that was my introduction into the literary world. But I was a long time reader, first time writer. I just was trying to change my life, and I just saw something, and my mother. I just thought back to what my mother used to say. She said, "Shannon, all you want to do is eat, sleep, and run the streets," and that's what I used to do. So I kind of like, I met a kid in jail who just changed my life. He had written 3 books, and I was just talking to him. I just knew I was smarter than him, and that wasn't a knock on him. I knew I had lived longer, I had done more things, and I had saw more things, and I was well read. So I said, to myself, if he can write 3 books, I can at least write 1. It was just figuring out what he knew that I didn't know, because he definitely knew something that I didn't know, and then pursuing it. You know what I'm saying? Because I just think it was just so many people in prison that were way more talented than me, but I had what they didn't have, and I had a work ethic. And they didn't have that, so I was able to supersede them just by working harder than them. Some of the most laziest people I've ever met in my life were the naturally gifted. So I worked them and just used my common sense and just sent a letter to a publisher, which was Terry Woods, and they gave me 20 free stamps in jail a month. Nobody was writing me, so I just decided to write publishers and just get information. So my thing was this: if I don't ask, the answer will always be no. But if I ask, it might be yes. And like I said, I reached out to her. I wrote a query letter, learned how to write a query letter, learned how to write a cover letter, learned how to do all the little technical things. And she said, "Send me your book with a self-addressed envelope." I was like, and I didn't send a self-addressed envelope because I knew that book wasn't coming back to me. I knew what was going to happen. So if she gave me the time of day, and she did, then the rest, as they say, is history. I went on to sign. I went on, with couple of deals, with a couple 6-figure deals, with a couple major publishing houses. So that's basically my story.
Absolutely. Quan?
Yes. How y'all doing?
Hey, Quan.
What's up, y'all? Well, my story is a little bit different. Because I came in a kind of unconventional way, because my first deal was by accident. I was writing this story. I wasn't necessarily sure what I was going to do with it. So I started looking into things like vanity presses. I didn't have the initial startup capital for a vanity press, which was a blessing. So what I would do was, well, initially when I was sending out these letters to these publishing houses, it was telling me that there was no market for what I was doing, because there wasn't a lot of people doing it at the time. I think at that time it was like maybe only Shannon, Terry, Sister Soldier, and Vicky had just came out. So, you know, I'm not really getting a lot of feedback from the different authors I was reaching out to. I came across Vicky Stringer, and I was just explaining my situation to her. I didn't know she was a publisher or whatever. So she offered me an opportunity. She said, I can help you try to shop your book for a deal, or you'll be the first author signed to Triple Crown. So my thinking at the time was like, well, if you don't have no authors, then I'm the only one there. I can pick your brain as much as I want, and I won't get lost in a stable of authors. So we did the Triple Crown thing. Now, let me let y'all in on something that a lot of people don't know, and it's something I didn't know until after the fact. It was Vicky's concept, the whole Triple Crown thing, but it was actually Shannon who put up the money for my first book, for Gangster. So I stayed with Triple Crown for a little while. I got my feet wet. Then I retired. I've retired mad times, but I had retired, and St. Martin's Press came looking for me through L.A. Banks, because she was a good friend, somebody that I could always go and talk to. Oh, you know, rest in peace. And I did a couple of books. I was with St. Martin's Press for a long time, and then I went on to do stuff for like Simon & Schuster. Just I kind of just been all over the place. But it all started totally by accident. The first book was an accident. The second book I wrote on a dare, because Vicky was like, "You ain't got another book in you. You can't do it again." And I'm like, "No, you bugging." Like, yeah, I can. And so it just kept going from there. By the time I got to my third book, hey, y'all, how y'all doing? By the time I got to my third book, it felt like the most natural thing I had ever done. And so I just kept doing it, and I couldn't stop. It was like a light bulb goes off in your head, and you can't shut it off. Oh, shit. It was basically like that. So I've been around for a while. I think I'm coming up on my 18th year as a published author.
Wow.
18th year. I was the baby of the group at the time, but now I'm like the dinosaur.
But let's talk about that, because you guys have all achieved longevity in the industry. I want you each to drop some jewels. Drop jewels on those that are starting, those that are feeling that they're stagnant in their career at this time. What are some jewels you would drop on them to just give them not just hope, but that knowledge on how to elevate themselves in their business? We're going to start with Mr. and Mrs. Wade Hudson. Sorry, y'all.
Well, I think the most important thing for us when we first started publishing was establishing or hooking up with a network of other people that we could learn from. When we first started, there weren't any other publishing company, Black-owned company, publishing children's books. But what we did do was to connect with publishers like Hakeem Marbuti, Paul Coates, the Black Classic Press, and several other Black-owned companies. And we actually formed an association to support each other. The organization is called the National Association of Black Book Publishers. Now, this is in the early 90s. So what I would say, you really cannot make it by yourself. You cannot do it solo. So you need help. You need a network of people that you can learn from, and also who can encourage you. Because there are two things for me. I'm a writer, but I'm also a publisher. And I think they are really distinctively different. From publishing, you know, it is a business. Writing is a business too. But as a publisher, you're not just concerned about the manuscript and the editing and the copy editing. You're also responsible for the marketing, the distribution, the printing, and all of that, which is a whole nother element.
I think that children's book publishing too is a little bit different from adult publishing, mainly because you have two elements. You have the illustration, especially for younger kids, and you have the manuscript development. So you're dealing with two people for one title, and sometimes more than two people. Whereas in adult publishing, you may be a single author and you have a manuscript or text, and the only art that you deal with is the cover for your book. So it makes it a little bit more complex. You've got to rely on experts other than yourself. I'm an art director. I had been an art director in an educational publishing house, but that was for textbooks. So that's different than doing something for a trade book. And telling a story means that you have to rely on the expertise of professional illustrators. So just because you have a friend who's in art school or somebody who likes to draw, or because your mother or your grandmother loves a story that you have written, doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to work for the public. So you got to have a good storyline, but you got to have the discipline of relying on professionals to bring it together in a publishing package. And then people don't, a children's book might cost $16.95, and because it's for children, people think that's a high price. The same book that's written by an author, an adult author, might sell for $20 or $25. So there's a difference in devaluing, in some ways, literature for children. So and the cost of producing a children's book is going to be much, much higher than that of producing an adult book. So profit margin is a lot lower. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Absolutely. Shannon.
How you doing, Joy? I want to say, Joy, I ain't seen you in years. How you doing?
Hey, Shannon, I'm great. How are you?
Man, it might have been about, what, 17, 16 years I ain't seen you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yo, when you started going through your names, I was like, she sounds familiar, because your screen name didn't sound familiar. But anyway, I don't.
It's
always
good to see you.
It's always good to see you. Yeah, she was there. I mean, Joy was there when we first started Triple Crown. Joy was there. Joy was a part of that. So anyway, what was the question?
We dropping jewels. I want you to drop some jewels on those that are thinking about writing, that are feeling stagnant in their career, frustrated. You know, a lot of times book business is a hard business. Book money is not fast.
Yeah, I think the big mistake a lot of people make is, like, a lot of us come from these criminal backgrounds, and we just think this money is street money. It's not street money. You know what I'm saying? Money go out fast and it come back slow. And that's really kind of like the gist of it, you know, for me, especially if you're especially a self-public author, you can't be using your money right now. You can't use your book money to pay your mortgage. It's not there right now. You know what I'm saying? And one day, if you build it up, it can pay your mortgage. But right now, a lot of people make a lot of mistakes by, you know, putting their hand in that cookie jar and using book money, allocating those funds that were earmarked for print money for something else. You know what I'm saying? That's why I think a lot of new people make a mistake. As far as this generation of writers right now, I really don't know, because it's kind of like weird when I look at them and watch them on the internet, and I just sit back and just like, wow, like, you know, I don't kind of like get it, like, you know, where they coming from with it, or their titles or nothing. Like, I feel lost when I look at them. I don't fit in with these kids. I don't fit in with these dudes, man. It's just a different game out right now. Everybody, you know, is so cutthroat, and everybody's trying to sell their book for free or 99 cents or just make outrageous titles. I don't even know what's going on with these people no more, because it's so hard to make your name right now. I'm just so glad I still got mine. So I don't know about nobody else, man. This is crazy right now. I think the industry's kind of like, you know, Amazon kind of destroyed the industry. So I mean,
that's a good point.
That's why that's a good point. But that's why we're here. We want to come up with some great ideas on how to help people build and elevate their brand, so that we can get out of
you can start by writing good books. That's always a good start. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because you can have all the gimmicks you want. You can have all the little titles you want, our stuff, or R. Kelly's baby's mother, whoever, whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, it's in between. It's in between those pages. It's in between those lines. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if you can have all the little gimmicks and schemes, but if it ain't adding up in between, if you can't hook a reader, then, you know, you're pretty much done.
That's true.
You're pretty much done.
I like how you said you talked about budgeting. A lot of authors don't understand that you have to budget. You gotta know what you're gonna spend money on and when. So your book, you may not be able to have a book that come out every 3 months. You have to budget that to understand that you can still live and still do your dream and your passion at the same time. Blake, what about you?
Yeah, I think what Shannon just was speaking on is kind of a key thing, and integrated with what you're saying. I think one of the most important things is you got to define what you are trying to get out of the publishing industry. If you're trying to just come in and see if you can make some quick money, I remember Jay-Z said something key one time about what was going on with rap. He said, once Biggie told Puffy, hey, you should rap, and Puffy made it, it made everybody else think that, hey, I could be a rapper too, whether you can rap or not. So when it became a business, it wasn't about the art form. It wasn't about the love of rapping. It was just about, can I do this and make some money? And so that is what has happened with the publishing industry, really. And that's what he's speaking on when he's saying like titles and what's the, the tagline of the day and what's gonna get hits and what's keywords and all these things that you gotta learn about, algorithms and things on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You touched on something beautiful. Algorithm. Oh my God.
Like that right there. Now what you're talking about is you're talking about grabbing a wave. But the only thing with that is that if you look at the bestsellers list, let's just say Amazon, if you look at the top 20 now, I guarantee if you go back just 6 months, it's a whole different list. And if you go back a year, some of those people that were there a year ago that had a #1 bestseller, they're not even charting now. It's because, like he was saying, it's not about what's between the pages. It was about taking advantage of a system or of a glitch that might have been going on at that time with Amazon or Facebook or Instagram. Right. And so, again, you got to define what are you getting in this business for. Now, if you're getting it because you want longevity, then, again, you better make sure that what you're writing is quality enough that it's going to stand the test of that time. That's what people like Quan and Shannon and others on here, they have been able to do, is because if I just come on to a Shannon Holmes book now, if I like it, I'm going to go back and read everything that he's written. And so that's what's going to keep you going. But if I just heard a title, well, then that title's not relevant anymore. So it was a time when if I just put, excuse me, but the word bitch in a title, that was charting. Well, that's not going on anymore. So if that was the only thing that you had was the development of titles, then you're out of the game now. And so if you're going to do it, make sure you come in, make sure you define what you're getting in the business for, and then perfect your understanding of that. I always tell people, I think my advantage was that I started off in retail. So I had direct connection with the customer, but I also had direct knowledge of what a retailer wanted when it came to books. Then I got into publishing. And so I understood the author, publisher, distribution side as well as the retail. And then I got into writing. So now I understand it from an author, a publisher, and a retailer. And I already knew the customer. So because of that, I was able to extend that information to be able to try to make sure that I was pleasing all of them, because I know all of them are part of the process. But when people come in now and you just think that, well, I got a Facebook page, KDP is gonna let me load this book up, I got a graphic designer, where the money at? Where's my #1 bestseller tag?
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought up intent. You and Shannon both brought up intent. You have to know the intent of everything that you're going to do in this industry. Your why. What is your why for anything that you're doing? Cyrus, we dropping jewels. I want you to drop some jewels on those, because you work with a lot of authors, being a publicist. Drop some jewels on those that are maybe struggling to build their brand up, or even those that are thinking about starting.
Yeah, I think the main thing for me has been to know who you are first. And as it was mentioned earlier, I love that word intent, because I think if you're just trying to go out there to be the next X, Y, or Z, you're already setting yourself up to fail. So I think to realize that you have something unique to bring to the table, to bring to the industry, I think is so important. And a lot of that has to do with knowing exactly, as they were talking about, to know exactly the story you want to tell, but also who you are as the storyteller. because a lot of times it's you that's making the introduction to your work before it's even being released. So, being very clear about that, and that can go from, making sure that you're doing your work, making sure that you're setting yourself up with letting people know your background, even giving teasers, making sure that you are building that community first. Because I think one of the biggest things I see in the side of the work that I do with others is that they just automatically think people will be drawn to them before they're actually drawing their community. So I think being able to identify who your audience is, to be able to start to getting that audience together is so important. And then to be able to find ways to be able to communicate with that audience in different ways. Because I think we all are seeing through COVID that the way we communicate with people on Facebook doesn't work on Instagram. It doesn't work the same on Twitter. So being able to communicate with them where they are, but doing it in a way that's going to reach them, I think that's really the biggest key.
Absolutely. And Sean.
Yes. So I think that I'm going to look at it from two different aspects, right? Number one, you have to look at and understand, and brothers and sisters touched on it earlier, it's two sides of this. One side is you writing your book. That's your creativity side. The other side is the business of books. So once you understand that, you kind of get a little more clarity. Number one, so for the actual book itself, you got to put your best product out. You gotta take it serious and look at this as a business ahead of time. I personally believe that there's no such thing as a bad story, because we all have a story, and that's where our glory is. So once you decided that you're going to take on the task of becoming a writer, I think it's imperative that you take this serious, that you put the best quality out that you possibly can. There is no shortcut to success. There are no such thing as get rich quick schemes. The dope game showed us that. Dude's still doing 40 years from the 90s. Likewise, so whatever you're striving to do, you have to be serious about it and put the quality in, number one. Number two, after you put the best quality in, you have to understand that this is a business. You have to build your brand. It's not going to happen overnight. It takes 10 years to be an overnight success. I came out with my first book. I wrote my first book in 2005, dropped it in 2012. I didn't get signed to a major until 2017, right? So you have to look at this as a business, look at this as a brand, invest in yourself. And if you're feeling stagnated, go back to your why. If you're in this to get money, initially this is the wrong game.
Yep.
You have to look at it long term. Look at this as a business. Also, put the work in. Understand, I'm a hybrid. I'm signed to a major, and I still put my own books out as well. So I can tell you firsthand, just because you signed already, that doesn't mean your work. That's not when your work stops. That's when your work begins. Being signed just gives you a distribution platform and a network, but you still have to invest in yourself. You still have to get yourself out there. You still have to touch the people. And one thing in closing, like I said, with Forbidden, my first book, I sold 30,000 copies by myself, right? And one thing I did learn, I touched the people. I was out here on the streets. I was out here touching people, state to state, city to city, getting in touch with people. So once you establish those bonds, that's how you build a brand. Nothing against books, whatever. That's cool. That's money, whatever. But once you establish that relationship, that's what's going to put you in the game long term. Like Juan been in for years because he's out touching the people. I see him. Now, there's not an event I went to East Coast, I ain't see him there. Guaranteed. So you got to build your brand.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm glad that you talked about that, about how to build your brand, because really, branding is about relationships. And you got to be able to make those connections with readers, and not just readers. Every book event does not have to be about a reader. You want to be able to connect and create relationships with other authors that can kind of guide you, not even guide you, but they might be like, well, I know of another event, and be able to take you to different heights. You always got that one person. You might be able to get yourself to the corner, but if you network with other people, you can get yourself 2-3 blocks ahead. Quan.
Yes. I think I have a unique perspective on it because of the fact that I've sat with old timers, I've sat with some of the greats, and I'm also tapped in with the kids, so to speak. Not kids as far as age, but as far as time in. And I think one of the main things that I see that is a career killer is complacency. See, the difference between, and I hate to sound like the old man in the room, the difference between now and then is like Sean said, like he touched on, we had to go out. There was no Facebook, there was no social media. We had to go out, we had to work, we had to actively touch people and go to states. And me and Shannon did a signing at a crack spot one time, no lie, in Trenton. So we had to, you got to go out and you got to touch the people. I think in this age of one click, that's an art of being. That's a lost art. And what happens is it stunts your social growth. Like if you ever see some of these authors who really don't get out and they do a lot of their stuff on Facebook, you put them in a room full of people, they don't know how to function. So I think complacency is one thing, and I think a lack of humility. Nobody's humble anymore because nobody has to work. Everything is so easy now. You never had to bust your ass. So everybody thinks that they're the next great thing, and if you try to impart knowledge on them, you just old hating ass nigga. I'm an old hating ass nigga because I'm telling you to care about your word to become. You have to think about it. Like to be a published author, recognized or otherwise, is a blessing. It's a blessing. I think it's something you should take seriously. This is a craft. This is not just a flash in the pan. Like, and I've seen dudes come and go. Everybody who was gonna be like, you got a crop every year or every couple of years that everybody praises is the next great thing, right? And they do their thing and this ain't no knock on them, but where are they going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Like I said, I'm coming up on my 18th year and I'm still out here rolled heavy. Like I'm not just the author like, oh, remember, come on. Nah, I'm in your face every day. Like you see me, I'm active with this shit. So I think that's something like you got to be ready to get up. You got to be ready to bust your ass. You got to be ready to hustle, and you have to be humble. You can be an Amazon bestseller Monday, and by Friday somebody else is in that spot because the whole algorithm thing and how it fluctuates. So I think that the lack of humility, and nobody wants to listen anymore. Everybody thinks that they have it all mapped out. And though, like with this with the whole technology age, and authors are doing good, and I'm glad that they're able to feed themselves. You have to look at the bigger picture. Do you want to be known as that author that had a ratchet title or a catchy title that was hot for a few months, or do you want to be celebrated for all time? If I was to stop writing today or tomorrow, you got to mention me still in every top 5 from now until the end of time because I put in the work, and I'm not being cocky. I'm just telling you what it is. And people don't look at it like that. It's like, all right, if I got a Word file and I paid $30 for a stock photo and got somebody to slap it together, upload it, I do good that first week. I'm a #1 bestseller. I've seen authors that have not sold one book put bestseller on the front of their book. And I understand speaking into existence and all that shit, but sometimes it just goes too far. And like, but you can't tell nobody nothing. So I just kind of sit back and I give help when I can and I give advice when I can. But for the most part, I let them make their own mistakes and learn from trial and error.
Absolutely. And I like what you said because you brought up interaction. Interaction is definitely key, especially on social media. Joylyn?
Wow, I've been sitting here taking notes from everybody. So wow. I mean, it doesn't matter how long you've been in this game. You're going to learn something new every day. Be ready for that. So, I mean, definitely, what Sean was saying, there's writing and then there's business. And I believe that's where a lot of authors can get discouraged. You can call it your side gig, you could call it your book hustle, call it whatever you want to call it, but you better treat it like a business. Period. You better treat it like a business because that receipts is going to get investors. Receipts is going to get people to want to invest in you, to want to partner with you, to want to collaborate with you. Going back to what the Hudson said, building that team, building that tribe, having that community, joining professional organizations, not just your own community. You do want your own community, you do want your own tribe, but in other communities as well, where you're not the biggest person in the room. You don't have to be the biggest name in the room, and you are willing to learn. And then what Quan was saying about people being complacent, and a lot of times they'll cover that up by using the word content. Well, I'm content with this. I'm content with that. But they're so adamant in trying to convince you they're content that you sit and smell laziness a mile away. And there's a difference between being complacent and being content. And just be honest about it to yourself first and foremost, because we're out here building our empires, creating our legacies. So it's your truth that's going to allow you to reach your dreams, visions, and goals. You talked about intent. I believe Blake and Shannon talked about your intent, your why you write, why you publish, and why you sell books. 3 different thought processes, period. Why you write, totally different from why you are publishing it. and why you are putting a price tag on it. So when you hear authors say, well, I don't do this for the money, then blog it for free. Why are you charging me $14.95? Because you know it costs to move a message. And you know, if this is your job, call it whatever you want to call it a business. And let me just make it clear. You can make money. You can make a living as a writer, but you have to determine what that looks like to you. What does literary success look like to you? What does financial literary success look like to you? Because there is a difference. There's literary success. We're talking about legacy. There's financial literary success. We're talking about empire. We're talking about feeding my kids. What you're not going to hear from me is me trying to be humble, fake humbleness, or saying what I think an author should say. I don't do this for the money. We use that as an excuse for when we don't make the money we want to make. I have a family. I have children I have to put in college. I'd be a selfish fool to be sitting here saying I'm not doing that to feed them. This is something I invest so much time, effort, energy, blood, sweat, and tears. Those of us who have been published by others, we have what we call giveaway books, where we was just trying to get in the game, to learn, to figure this thing out, not so that we could stay on somebody else's platform, but so that we could build our own. And hopefully those willing to listen will receive our advice, will receive the information we're trying to share with them. We'll learn from our mistakes. It makes no sense when you have a group of people willing to share the mistakes. All of us together, we've wasted enough time, we've wasted enough money, we've made enough mistakes for everybody in the game. So why you wouldn't want to listen and avoid those mistakes altogether, you know, that never made sense to me. But I think it's because so many authors, and this isn't new authors, this is vet authors as well, they don't think outside the book. You have to think outside the book. You cannot make that book your entire business. You have to go beyond book sales and royalties, because now you're constantly in hustle mode when it's all about book sales and royalties. And think outside the book. Look at yourself. Look at who you are. Make a connection with the skills that you learned, the information you shared in your book. Even fiction writers, as fiction writers, we write what we know first. We research what we don't know. We make up all the rest. But there is some area of and level of expertise in there that we're writing about. There's some truth. There's some experience that we can teach and help others on. It doesn't have to be a writing course. Let me teach you about the streets. Let me teach you about jail. Let me teach you about this. Let me teach you about how not to go to jail. And we have to look outside of our books at us, as us being the project as well, because business don't make money, people do. So as the people, as the authors, we have to take these skills. Can we do retreats? Can we do workshops? Can we do any type of consulting? And it all boils down to serving. We're serving, and people need that. So those who are feeling discouraged or feel like they're not making the money they need to be making, start thinking outside the book. Be truthful about your whys, and then be intentional about what it's going to take for you to reach that why. Everybody, I'm gonna start a series. I want it to be like Chicken Soup for the Soul. Chicken Soup for the Soul, 2 authors. It took them 2 years doing 5 things a day to make the New York Times bestsellers list. 2 years doing 5 things a day. But like Quan said, you don't even want to get behind your computer. You don't even want to leave behind your computer. You don't want to even get out there and do the work. And so I'm all about learning this business side, writing the craft. People say you got to love writing. No, you don't. You don't even have to know how to write. There's resources out here. You got to know how to tell a story. You have to know how to deliver a message. You have to know how to share your testimony. There's ghostwriters who can write it for you. You don't have to love writing. You don't have to be passionate about writing. You have to be passionate and intentional about the results, which means you have to work. And the Bible sums it up. You don't work, you don't eat. So even if money is your motivating factor, you don't work, you don't eat.
Absolutely.
And I want to say, Jolene, you touched on so many topics and subjects that I want to expound on tonight, but the key is, and I learned this from you, working with you so closely, financial literary success. I don't think enough people talk about that, or enough people even understand what it means. And I look at things differently as a result of learning what that is. And I think a lot of people, a lot of our young authors, they don't take the time to know the business side of it. But there's so much more, like everyone said, than just writing a book. And if you want to stay in this game, you have to know that it's more than just that. Like a few you said, I remember reading a book 30 years ago, Catherine Smalls. That woman stayed with me. Her work stayed with me because they took the time to know the business. They took the time to make quality work. Those are the type of lifetimes that we speak about that you want your work to be a part of. You want your work relevant 50 years from now. That was 30 years ago. And she's still relevant to me now.
And it's like what Quan said. Yeah, it's like what Quan said. Part of the business is the reader. That's the customer. That's the audience. And making sure that you are connecting with them and that you are giving them what they want and giving them what they need. And again, like Shannon said, not just trying to follow, what's hot, what's the hashtag, what's the #1 record on the radio. Let me name my book that and write that. And I've been there, done that. Like I said, I've made that mistake. I'm very transparent. I have made that mistake following the trends, but I was willing to learn. That's why I'm still here. The dust settled, but I'm still here because I was willing to learn. And when you know better, you do better. But if you're not going to listen, if you're not going to be willing to learn, and your only interest in this is book sales and royalties, I mean, you're in for a rude awakening.
Absolutely.
And Facebook likes.
Right. And I'm glad Quan brought that up because our next topic is social media. Don't get confused when you see somebody post something and they get 500 likes. A like does not represent a purchased book. So many authors are struggling with social media. They're struggling with how to move in social media effectively. Effective being the key word, because you can be on social media doing a whole bunch of things. I think a lot of times we forget that we are a business first. So if you're an author, you are a business 24 hours a day. You have to move as such. If you want to have a page that's separate from your business, you need to create a whole separate page that you have your regular life on. But when you're on social media, I don't care, morning, noon, and night, you are still an author. You are a business and you have to move as such. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Hudson, talk a little bit about that because you guys are publishers. How do you guide your authors in social media? And as a publishing company, how do you guide yourselves to advance in social media as well?
Well, actually, our daughter is the one who handles social media for us, and she's really excellent at that. It's so important to have the presence, and I think someone mentioned earlier that each of these platforms are so different. What you do on Facebook is different from how you get a response on Instagram or some of the other platforms. But to be honest with you, that is not my area. Social media is not my area. We started our company actually getting to the people. When we started Just Us Books in 1988, for about 5 years, we traveled throughout the country attending conferences, festivals, and things like that. And that is how we actually branded our company and branded ourselves. And I want to go back to what Jarlene was saying, which I think is important, but I'm not answering your question about social media. Many of us make a lot of money by doing presentations. We've done so many Zoom presentations during the pandemic, and we are paid by schools, we are paid by organizations. Cheryl and I are doing We are visiting professors at Pace University where we are talking to a group of students, and we are paid handsomely for that. So we're not just depending on royalties of what our books do as well. Also, as a publishing company, there are other ways that you can make money or generate income other than just through book sales. You can sell rights to your books to different entities. For example, a number of our books have been picked up by educational publishers, and they pay us a tidy sum for that. So there are so many different ways that you can monetize what you created, because what you created is intellectual property. So again, I'm not answering your question about social media because our daughter should really be here. And Just Us Books is a family business. My wife and I started the company, but my daughter handles much of our marketing and particularly with social media. Our son is involved in the company. So we are preparing now for our son and daughter to actually take over the company as we retire, maybe do something different. And I think that's important too, as you create something that has a legacy, that legacy continues because you got children or whomever to carry on after you're gone.
Absolutely. And I like what you said because you brought up monetizing your pen. Did y'all write that down? You got to be able to monetize your pen. And that goes side by side with social media.
Yeah.
Blake, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think with social media, the thing is that you got to know which platform you want to be on based off of what you're writing. So if you're writing something that you feel like, let's say 45-year-olds to 50 or 65-year-olds are going to be interested in, then you don't need to be on Instagram because that's not where most of them are at. So if you're on Instagram and you're doing a bunch of ads over there, younger people are on there, they're probably not going to be interested in the material that you're promoting over there. And it's vice versa with Facebook. Now, Facebook is a little more broad, but if you're going after a younger audience, then you got to understand that you got to be able to build that platform. Now, nobody wants to be sold to, right? You go to buy a car or anything, you don't want anybody just to sell you something. So if your introduction to people on Facebook, Instagram, or any of it is, this is my book, buy it and support me, then you're probably not going to be successful because nobody goes on Facebook to say, let me see who I can buy something from. You go on there to interact, to be social with. So if you're not going to be social, then it's probably not going to work for you. But when you're on there, my thing is always interaction. One thing Quan was talking about was how it used to be back in the day. Well, even back then, if you came to do a book signing at my store, if you just came and we set the table up and you sat behind the table with your books on the table and people walked by and you didn't say anything to them, you probably weren't going to have a very good book sign. But if you stood up and you got out there and you interacted, I knew we were going to have a good day. It's the same thing on social media. If you just only got a page of books and excerpts, you're probably not going to do that well with getting new people to come and look at your stuff. So you got to interact. You got to be social. And in that, I think that you're able to build a platform and then introduce them to your material. But I think that's what most people run into problems with. If they go into a group and their avatar is their book, the introduction is their book, and all they want to talk about down the line is their book. Again, that's probably not going to work that well. And we want to get to the next part, which is like I was talking about earlier, is understanding keywords and how they work. Understanding that when you post something on Facebook, that Facebook knows when you're saying now available. If you ever look at it, they know you're selling something. So they're not showing that to very many people on a timeline. So now you got to know how to post, how to word it, so that it's getting out to more and more people, how to set up a base, how to set up the ads, how to do what's the difference between a boosting a post and running a campaign. It's a lot of variables. So again, you got to learn those things that's the platform that you're going to use.
Absolutely.
I want to ask Lisa. I want to ask Cyrus because
I was just about to say Cyrus because this is what he do. Cyrus is social media, he's our Bible for social media. Listen, if I want to know how to move somewhere, if I want to know how to do something, I'm calling Cyrus.
Yeah, I want to hear from him. Can you hear us, Cyrus?
Can you hear us, Cyrus?
Maybe you can't hear us.
That was freezing.
Oh, you might be froze. While we getting Cyrus together, go ahead, Shannon.
Yeah, what? I was just listening to Blake, and you said, "Go ahead, Cyrus." You said, "Go ahead."
Yeah, but we think Cyrus is froze. And this is the thing, the best part about Shannon being on, because Shannon, you by you coming in at such a time where there was no social media.
It was nothing.
And you came in
the third one in.
Right, and you came in a situation. You were in a situation where you couldn't really move around. You couldn't do what you needed to do. It took a team to be able to help you get what you needed to do done. So
I can't say that. I think it was word of mouth. It wasn't. You gotta remember, the market was different back then. It wasn't so many people. So when I came out, Terry Woods had her run. Sister Soldier had her run. So I was the new kid on the block. So I don't really think it was like you only can read those books so many times before you go to your bookstore, like like my man James used to have. Right. Before you go to the book vendor and say, "Yeah, you got something like this," and I was at something like this. There you go. Be more careful. So sometimes it ain't who you know, it ain't what you know. It's timing, and my timing couldn't have been better.
Sorry about that. I think I missed that. Yeah. I probably should say the reason I'm able to do that because I'm probably the only one on here that don't really have a lot. So this is kind of my thing. But I hope. Yeah.
Yo, I gotta cut out. Yo, I gotta go pick up my daughter.
Okay.
All right. Yo, James, send me your number. Hi, everybody. Send me your number.
Bye, Shannon. It was good seeing you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Can you hear us, Ty?
Can you hear us, Cyrus?
Is he muted again?
No, he shouldn't be.
I think Cyrus has a delay. Cyrus got a delay.
Yeah, can you hear me
now?
Oh, he froze again.
Oh, okay. I want to really hear what Cyrus got to say because this is his thing, social media. And a lot of authors are struggling with social media. How to move around on social media and how to be able to get their brand out there on social media. Another thing I want to touch on, and I'm glad that it was brought up, was making sure you're monetizing your pen. While we're waiting on Cy, let's talk a little bit about monetizing your pen. Mr. and Mrs. Hudson did touch on the importance of monetizing your pen in different ways you can monetize your pen. Sean, what are some ways that authors can monetize their pen?
You can sell what you know. For example, I write bios. I charge $50 for a bio, and I probably make on a good week $1,000 a week on bios, not count numbers, but a bio, a synopsis reconstruction. Pretty much, if you're in this game, particularly on the business side of it, you can monetize those skills. Also, get out the book world, right? So I'm in Atlanta. There's a lot of professional businesses out here in Atlanta. They need website copy done. They need business proposals done. My emphasis on a publishing company is doing the right edits. If you can edit a book, you can write a business plan, you can write a bio, you can do things for a company, you can monetize all of your experience. Even with my company, Pen to Pen, we transitioned from just my books to putting other books out. We revolutionized the game with our publishers package where we get your book from manuscript to this in 90 days. You see what I'm saying? All of those are monetizing your pen. I don't have any skin in the game, just my experience. Also, I do writing coaching, right? Very, very lucrative writing coaching. Because again, looking at this as a business, once you complete my writing course, you have the same thing that a college degree has given you. And by that, I mean a means to make money. We have a very comprehensive writing course that we do. And once you're done, you have a published book. And ideally, you won't need us anymore. So now you have a new skill set. If you didn't know, you don't have to know how to write a book. Come to us, and we can help you write the book. You see what I'm saying? So those are all different types of ways to monetize your skill. Truth be told, like those royalties come twice a year. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm me monetizing my writing skills.
Absolutely. Monetizing your pen.
Correct.
Quan.
I monetize my pen by being a writing fool. But writing is primarily what I know, so I just find different and lucrative ways. Like I do so much shit on the side. Excuse my language. I do so much stuff on the side, but it's all relative to writing because this is primarily I'm good at writing and robbing. One is gonna get me paid. One is gonna get me locked up. So what I do is I write constantly. And like what Sean was saying about being a hybrid author, that's why I had a small chuckle because people don't understand. Like sometimes when you sign with a major, you are beholden to the major, and you can't really go out and do stuff to find a way to make money. So you have to learn the art of the finesse.
Correct.
To put yourself in a position like me. I do the same thing. Like you see, like I may do one book a year with a major, but I do 2 Kawan books because I'm going to make the lion's share of the money off Kawan books.
Correct.
So in a sense, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. I may get an advance from the major, but I'm going to take that advance and I'm going to invest that into Write the E concepts because I know that's going to be my bread and meat. The price of your royalties can't do that. I need a constant source of flow of income. Or you may have others like like people in different industries. I want to write a book and I don't know. All right, well, give me this, and I'm gonna help you out. I don't necessarily do it for writers because writers come to me a lot of times to ghostwrite because the fee that I charge some of these other people is ridiculous, and I don't feel comfortable doing that to a writer because I know they don't have it. But if you're a record exec or a businessman and I know you got some cash laying around, let me get that, man. I got you. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna get this together, you know. So it's all just finding different ways. I draw, so I start designing clothes, you know. Different is just different things. Monetize my pen, but but every source of income I have is related to my pen and my creativity.
Absolutely. And Cyrus, I want you to talk a little bit about not just monetizing your pen, but social media. A lot of authors are having a hard time maneuvering on social media where it has a growth process.
Yeah. Sorry about the tech issues there. You know, I do live in the country, so I hopefully this is better.
It's okay, Ty.
All right. Well, for me, social media has been a big part. Now, I will say, of course, before we had the big thing with social media, I also enjoy people, but I am a natural introvert. So for me, I do realize the importance of being social, actually, hanging out with people, even online, but also being able to then use that when it comes to, if I am marketing or in the case of a book or the magazine, selling something. Joy Lynn is someone I really love when it comes to this, because one of the things that I love that she talks about all the time is about the community. And I love the point that was made earlier about you don't want to just sell all the time. But I think one of the keys for me has been the success when it comes to social media is that I literally engage with everybody. And everything these days online is all about the algorithm. So if you leave me a comment on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, I'm going to actually go in there and comment on everybody's comment.
That's right.
I think the other side of that too is that not just commenting on things on your page, but what has helped me in building my tribe online is going on other people's pages and congratulating them and getting involved in conversations that way. So, I kind of look at social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter for me, almost like attending a networking event. That's what it's like for me. And so I try to go in, try to introduce myself, be able to add some value if I can. If someone's asking a question about something, maybe try to add some input when it comes to that. And then when it comes to the selling, one of the great books that I read a few years ago by Gary Vaynerchuk, Jab, 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 Right Hook. I think once you're going in there and you're engaging with people, and then when you're asking for the sale, they feel like, hey, definitely I want to, what you got? I'm here for you. And so that's really been the big key for me. That's what I try to help with others.
Absolutely.
I want to say this before you say, Cyrus made a good point, because Cyrus, he does, whenever I post something or I say his name or whatever, he always comments. He has always done that. And he's not necessarily coming at me to buy something. A lot of authors, a lot of people post stuff to buy something, and then you don't hear from him again until it's time to buy something else. You know, he engages, and that's key, and that's important as far as the social media. You know, you don't just want to just throw something out there for somebody to buy, and after it's done, you have no more communication with them. So that's an important point.
Sean?
To add to that, right? So what he's doing, what he's saying pretty much is what I learned along the way, and I advise all my authors. If people buy into you, they'll buy whatever you're selling. I don't care if it's cars, crack, books, marbles. If people buy into you, if they believe in you, you establish that relationship. If they buy into you, they'll buy whatever it is you're selling.
Right.
So what he's pretty much has done is found a way to translate that to social media. Like that's my gift. You already know social media is my Achilles heel. I can't stand it, but I know it's necessary.
That shit, it's the devil. Social media is the devil.
My real life,
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
I don't even be on social media putting up a facade. You know what I'm saying? So many people put up on a facade. Like I really got stuff to do. I'm raising family. You know what I'm saying? Like my real life is popping. So I hate social media, but it's necessary.
Right.
You know, and that's what I've learned. Even with the COVID, I've been trying to do more. For example, when I people buy into you. Sometimes I might just go live and just talk. I'm not selling anything. But I notice after I go live or whatever, my sales go up. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very good point. I hate social media, but it's necessary.
And I was thinking the same thing. A lot of people confuse social media marketing with social media hustling. And there's a huge difference. With marketing, there's a rhyme or reason. I'm not saying every post has to be thought out, but every post should make somebody think about something that you are putting out there. I tell my authors, be a resource before you are an author. Don't go on social media as an author. Go on as a resource. This is me. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is how what I do helps you. So I'm always putting out content for my followers, for those who I'm connected with as a resource to them, giving information, you know, dropping the jewels. And that way they look to me as a resource, not someone trying to get them to give, but someone who's giving to them. And it's like what Sean said, get them to like you, book sales will follow. Book sales will absolutely follow. And, you know, whether you're going to be on all the social media platforms, you know, being engaging, at least have a profile, okay? At least have a profile until you really know where your audience is and where you want to spend most of your time. Have your profile on LinkedIn, have your profile on Twitter, have your profile on Instagram, have the profile. And in that profile, make sure you have your web address. That way, even if you don't ever post on there, they have found you. Have some of those keywords. You know, this is how what I do can help you. People always want help, whether it's that escape, entertainment, personal development and growth, business development and growth. Always let people know in those profiles, this is how I can help you. If you connect with me, this is what I do. This is what I have to offer. Have that website address, because social media, Facebook, that's Mark's house. He letting you pitch a tent in his front yard. That's Mark's house. You need your own virtual real estate. Yeah. You can do what you want, you know, invite your company over there. So the goal isn't to keep your readers and followers and tribe on social media. It's to get them off of social media over to your website where you're collecting their information, where you're collecting their names and their email addresses. When Facebook and Instagram shut down that day, half the world lost its mind because they realized, whoa, those aren't my followers. Those aren't my connections. I can't reach out to them and they can't reach out to me. Social media, again, that's somebody else's real estate. You're pitching a tent and they control it. Nobody else's algorithm. A change in an algorithm shouldn't affect your change. Let me say it again. A change in an algorithm shouldn't affect your change. Get them off social media onto your virtual platform. Now,
come on with a word.
Absolutely. And we say this all the time on Let's Chat. People are not buying you what you're selling. They are buying you. And you have to put your name on everything. When I say put your name on it, my son played baseball. And I would always tell him, when you get out there, you put your name on it. That means whatever you do out there, you make sure they know your name when you come up off that field. Wherever you go, whatever you do, you make sure they know your name. They know who you are. I've walked in a room and people didn't know who I was, but if I said my name, they're like, "That's you, Alicia?" But you have to put your name on the things that you do. You know, on Let's Chat, we started doing different snippets, and we did a snippet of Mike and Molly. And Mike and Molly is a show where the female actress is an author. And so she gets her book deal. She's all excited. So the publisher, he takes her in his fancy office. She all excited. She then got herself gussied up. He gave her book in a hardback book with her picture on the back. Her picture, it was all in color. She was excited. She was loving on it. She was like, "Oh my God, I really moved. I made it. I'm a phenomenal," like he said. He takes the book and he throws the book on all across the room. And she's like, "Wait a minute, why are you throwing my book?" He was like, "Because now you need to sell yourself to make sure that this book goes viral."
That's real.
You have to sell yourself and make sure that everywhere you go, you put your name on it. I don't care if you're at a book event, if you're at a library, get with your local library. Make sure they know who you are. Make sure that they know you're an author.
At the gas station, wherever you are, carry a
Wherever you are, absolutely. I was just telling somebody the other day, because of social media, you can go worldwide. So therefore, everybody is your audience, right down to the person you sit next to. Everybody is your audience, and you have to move accordingly. Now, we have a lot of children's book authors. And now a lot of children's book authors, I know a lot of you have written children's books, but they have a hard time moving around in the industry. Mr. and Mrs. Wade Hudson, I keep saying Wade, Mr. and Mrs. Hudson, drop some jewels on those children's book authors that they want to be able to pour into the kids. They know, especially our African American kids, need to see books that are relatable and that reflect who they are. Talk a little bit about being able to market and move around in that industry.
Well, you know, the thing about you got to have the content, you got to have a good story, and you got to have readership. So the connection with your public library is so important. Your children need to have a library card. We encourage parents and our audience and readers to read with their kids, but also to have a library card and to have your own home library. That means to build your own library. You want to have an alphabet book, just like when we grew up, it was a big deal to have we had a set of encyclopedias. We didn't have individual books, but we had a set of encyclopedias, so you could go to that resource. Kids need to have that reflection to see themselves in their own homes. And that means having a kid catch you reading, so that they will fall in love with the idea of reading as well. So now the question was, what can authors do? It's a difficult and challenging time, because for some children, the only books that they see are the books that are their classroom books, their math book, their history book, their English book, their language art book. And in those books, there's always a challenge of getting multicultural kids and the kids that look like you. But what we do is try to educate our audience that not only do you need to pick up a book and check it out of the library, but you need to buy books for your kids. And most of the time, a lot of books, paperback books, $5, $6, $7, $8 for a paperback book. That's an investment, and we have to treat our literature as investment. So that's the way the authors should treat their stories as well. Everybody, like, I don't know if it was Quan or whether it was Blake who said, everybody's got a story. It's how you deliver that story so the child can identify with it. If Jamal has a busy day, it's just Jamal having a busy day. He went to school, he identifies with his parents, he brushes his teeth, he combs his hair, he ties up his shoelaces, he does his homework. That's a book. Whether you pet your puppy, that can be a book. But it's important for us to see ourselves reflected in experiences that we have, and for our children to see those experiences.
And I'm glad that you touched on that. Go ahead, Mr. Hudson.
Yeah, I was going to also add that children's book publishing is almost a different structure from adult book publishing. They are publications that are geared toward books for children, and the primary focus is children's books and books for young adults. They are reviewers who review children's books who don't review adult books. So there's a whole different world related to children's books, and it's so different. When I'm listening to a lot of you guys talking about adult publishing, some of that doesn't ring with me because we're not doing the same kinds of things. There's some similarities, certainly, but some of the things that we do are different. For example, the school market is a major market in children's book publishing. You know, and there are children book distributors. There are distributors who distribute to schools and to the children's market. So you got to know who those are, and they are different from distributors who actually sell in the adult market. You know,
That's right.
so it's a whole different world, and I think if you're writing a children's book, the other thing I want to say too, I think someone had said earlier that there's a sort of dog-eat-dog kind of mentality that's happening now. We don't see that in children's book publishing. We sort of consider those of us who create books for children and young adults, we see ourselves as a sort of beloved community. We support each other. We share each other's works on social media. If I have a book coming out or Cheryl has a book coming out, some of our friends post about that book. So we also have gatherings where we come together to talk and share information about the industry. We share what kind of advances we're getting, because what happens is people of color are obviously not being treated the same way as white authors. So the only way we know what's happening in the industry is if we share that information. So we've done that with a number of gatherings and opportunities where we share what's going on, what's the standard, because a lot of writers get screwed around, of color get screwed around because they don't even know what to expect.
That's right.
You're getting an advance that's 1/10 of what the right author's getting. So if we share information and we know what's going on, and I see a lot of progress being made in the industry, because those of us who create books in this market are empowered, and we network and we share and we come together, because we know that we come together, that we can lift this boat as a group, not individually.
I want to say because I just want to just jump in because the Hudson's made an important point, and I actually made a note for tonight. You know, growing up, I was always a reader, but I didn't necessarily know that there was authors that looked like me. So I would go into a library, I would get a book, I would sit there and read it, but I didn't look for authors that looked like me. So how do you guys as publishers make sure that the young readers that are coming up, how do you vet your children's book authors, or do you have children's book authors on your platform? Can I just ask Sean? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a children's book author signed to me, Shaylee. She wrote a book when she was just 8 years old. And it's not your typical children's book with animation. It's actually her story centered around the things that she went through. Because what we found, a lot of children have similar stories, and we have to be real because each generation is growing up faster than the other. So young Shaylee, she lost her father when she was just 2 years old. Her mother's a single mother. So that's the tale that's being told. She has more in common with a lot of young ladies who look just like her than just the animated stories and whatnot. At 8 years old, our children are very aware of what's going on with their surroundings. So we chose to publish her book in that regard because basically she's telling who she is, her nuclear family, and how she overcame certain things as far as losing her father at 2, how it affected her peer pressure. She spoke about bullying and things of that nature, right? So, and like the Hudson just said, the thing about it is this: we're primarily an adult publishing company. So there are different nuances in children's books that I wasn't familiar with that we had to learn as well. And we're still learning, truth be told. I'll probably reach out to the Hudsons after this call, but it's just different. I mean, honestly, I have to learn, but
Absolutely.
it's just different. It's different, but it's a huge market for it because ideally, Shaylee was 8 when she wrote that book. So let's say she write the next book when she's 10, and so on and so forth. So what we're doing then is growing our readers. And so now, once again, they believe in us. So then they'll believe in our products. So now we have our next generation of readers starting at 8 years old. That was
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said that, Sean. You know, earlier this year, I did Vision and Books. A lot of you have done my book event. And I wanted to always educate and give back to the community. So what I did was I wanted to give back to families. And I said, well, I didn't want to do a backpack drive. Everybody does that. And it seemed like that list that we get from the teacher is bigger every year. This was pre-COVID. So what I did was we sponsored a classroom. And a lot of authors, Terry Woods was one of the authors. She made sure that their school classroom, not just the school, but their classroom library had books. And not only did she make sure the classroom library had books, each one of those kids took a book home of hers. And Sean talked about growing your readers. What does Terry Woods do? Not only does she do books, she got movies. So she is growing her readers. And so I thought that was a great thing to add to my event, to be able to allow authors to not only just give back, but be able to brand themselves to a younger generation. I want to shout out SF Hardy, who is one of my clients. And, you know, a lot of libraries are doing virtual story times. You have some that aren't anymore because, you know, they're opening up a little bit, but a lot of libraries are doing virtual story times. But what I love about her is what she did was her own virtual story time. Because she's a librarian as well, she does her own virtual story time. Sometimes, just like what we talked about at the beginning of the show, you have to create your own table. You have to create your own lane. You got to be able to draw, like Joylyn said, bring those people to you. It's great to be on other people's platforms so that you can put your name on it there, but you want people to know that you have content on your own. So that is a great idea for children's authors. Do your own story times on your own social media, whether you have friends or classrooms, because some classrooms are not going back into session. You know, but some are. So when they go back into session, reach out to those teachers, kindergarten teachers, first grade teachers, do story times in their libraries, in their schools. My son went to school in Michigan, and Jonathan Rand, my son's name is Jonathan, but he ended up loving his middle grade books because every 2 months, he was in the schools, in the classroom, sharing his time, his knowledge, and his books with the kids. And my son loves Michigan Chiller books at that time. He's in college now, but Michigan Chiller was his thing. James Patterson's middle school books, that was his thing. He was relatable to him. So you guys have to, again, like Joylyn said, think outside of the book. Joylyn.
Yes.
Because you do go through, you have a middle-aged young adult children's book. Talk a little bit about that experience and ways that you feel that people need to kind of come outside of that book and expand their brand in that genre.
Well, even with my children's book, even with my picture book that was published by Just Us Books, I have used that book as a basis to get into the classrooms and the libraries. Yay, there it is. I've used that book regardless of age. I have used that book as a foundation with middle grade, with high school, and even college, just to show them this is a foundation. I'm always teaching the book is the foundation. The book is not the entire business. It's the foundation. And it can lead to so many other things. Even right now with COVID, there are still virtual classrooms who need you to come in and speak to their children, to do readings to their children. So don't not reach out to them. Treat it the same way you would. Now, typically, when we didn't have COVID, I would go straight to where I knew the money was. not the English teacher, not the principal, the PTA and the PTO.
Yep.
They are selling candy bars and candles to pay for author visits. So I went straight to the money. I went straight to who was cutting the check. I would go into the schools and I would have my package, my proposal. People love hearing your ideas. It's real cute over coffee. But when you want somebody to cut a check, have a plan, write it out, have a plan. So I would go with my package and I would ask, would I leave it with the PTO, with the PTA president? And then I would follow up. And then I would actually attend the PTA, PTO meeting so I could sell myself. Plus, I like cookies, and they always got cookies and juice at the PTA and PTO meetings. So, I'm getting my little grub on too, So I'm going in, and I'm going to the PTA, I'm going to the PTO, I'm selling myself. So I would start there, and I would get paid nice sums of money to come in during library session during school. Every child during a week, they're going to come to that library. So I will be paid to present, to teach some type of workshop. And I created workshops and curriculums and lessons around my book. You've got to give children, you have to keep them going. So when you have a picture book that's a 5-minute read, and the teacher wants you to do a 45-minute assembly, you've got to have a plan.
Yep.
I would have that plan. I will create that curriculum. And again, library time, because you have every student in the class coming. And we even had it where I was there teaching them to write a book. So maybe the 5th graders getting ready to go to 6th grade, and I had them write a book to 4th graders or whatever the lowest grade level was at the school. So they were writing them. So not each child is writing the message, and the book is going to be passed down to everyone that comes into the new grade level. We went to the community and said, hey, go to book. Every child coming in is going to get it. Pay $25 for your restaurant. Pay $25 with an ad for your business. So what they back tenfold. So I pitched it in such a way that it was cutting me a check. And so don't let COVID, again, don't let excuse not to keep moving. There are ways around. The school is still formed, but it's still in session. Those children still need your work. They still need to see you in those books. So if you are sitting back to wait for COVID before you start moving, then that's just lazy and you're not serving. I keep it real. I'm not going to fluff it and sugarcoat it. It's being lazy. And because what we have in us, these stories, these gifts, these skills, they're not ours. They're somebody else's portion. And when you're not out serving, that means people are starving. So if you're waiting for COVID, folks already hungry. The money's changed up. So they're already hungry. Why are you starving them more? Keep it moving. No excuse zone.
Absolutely. And that goes into the next great question.
Absolutely.
The business pivot. Pivoting during COVID. How have each of you pivoted during COVID to expand your brand and still remain relevant? Mr. and Mrs. Hudson?
Well, actually, we have focused more on social media. Prior to the pandemic, we utilized social media. We did not really focus on it. And so we found new ways of marketing via social media. Also, what we've done, and sort of tying into what Jolene is saying, we have done a lot of virtual presentations to schools around the country, to organizations around the country. We have several set up this week. Next week, we're doing a number of others. So we're reaching our readers in a different way. Normally what we would do is to travel, fly to LA or fly to Seattle, so we don't have to worry about it. So what we've been able to do, because we are home most of the time or in the office where we are now, we are more creative now. I've written so many manuscripts during this pandemic because I have a lot of downtime now because much of what we're doing is virtual, you know. So it has really been a good time for us. But the other thing is what's happening during this pandemic, and because of what's happening in the area of social justice, there has been an increase in Black book sales.
Yeah.
Many of the Black owned bookstores that buy from us have been sharing with us that their sales have gone through the roof. And many of the people who are coming to their stores to buy books are white people, not just Black people. So I think that we are really at a very important time now. So what we are trying to determine is, in terms of marketing, what are we going to hold on to and how are we going to be different once this pandemic is over? We know we will not be the same. There's some of the things that we are learning now that will be a part of our operation, a part of our business model moving forward. So we're constantly assessing and seeing what's working.
Absolutely. Cyrus? Oh, Cy, I think you're froze. Okay, Sean.
Oh.
Yeah. You good, Cyrus?
No, but I think Cyrus is froze.
There he is. There he is.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. No.
Go ahead, Cyrus.
What about now? Is it now okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, actually, this has ended up being a really good year for me, for the business, for Conversations. And it sounds weird to say that, but what happened with me with COVID, only one aspect of my business was really stopped, and that was the traveling for the TV show and the web series. So I wasn't doing that starting in March. But what that did was it opened up with my work with Amazon to build on another part of the publishing aspect, which what I did was able to, my being a reviewer, being able to take that and monetize it as catalogs. So we up with the At Home with Web, where they basically with brands that need their products to people products work. So that was one aspect we were able to do. And then we did a men's issue of the magazine where we were able to have different brands send clothing, shoes, accessories, that kind of thing to be able to buy from home. And a gift idea brochure that's coming in November, again geared to those who are doing their shopping at home versus going into a store for the holidays. So for me, it really has been doubling down on what I was doing already, opening up new opportunities in that process.
Absolutely. Sinclair?
Yeah, so for me and what we do, the services side of my publishing company, as far as producing books for other authors and aspiring authors, it's really exploded during this COVID season because a lot of people were laid off, or because this whole thing has forced people to reevaluate their lives, and they started to go back to their first love, which for a lot of people is writing. They just didn't know how to get their books out. So it's a combination of good marketing and word of mouth, and let people know that it's easy to do when you hire the right people. And so in turn, that allowed us to really probably got a 50% increase in our sales due to COVID when it comes to producing books for others. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I want to add something because T and I did our own pivot, you know, when we started doing our live show. We love the fact of what we do. We love it's the experience that we create for our people that come on our shows, our guests and our listeners. But the one thing I will say is podcasts are trending, guys. That is a way for you to expand your brand and be able to expand your books, YouTube pages, so many different things that you can do via YouTube, and make sure that you are mentioning your books. I don't care what you're doing, mention your books and everything you do. Go ahead, Cyrus. I saw your hand up.
Did we lose him again?
He might have a delay. Go ahead, Cyrus.
His phone is on mute, please.
Unmute. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's muted.
Hold on.
Versus is muted.
Okay, Si, I think you got yourself muted because I can't unmute you here. Okay, go ahead, Blake, while we get Cyrus together.
Okay, help me out with the go ahead part because I kind of. I was listening to what Cyrus was about to say.
Right, well, we're talking about business pivot in the season of COVID. And everybody has talked about their pivot in the season of COVID and how COVID has.
Well, in honesty, for me, and I think a lot of you are familiar with that. I mean, by me doing a lot of publishing within the ebook side, I had great success with the partnership with me and David Weaver, and then going on with Blake Karen Presents. And so the ebook market has still been very well for us because, we're using a different dynamic of bringing new authors to a more trendy type of reader. So I know, like we were talking a little bit earlier about those who are kind of more focusing on the longevity side of it. And that's the thing about, again, understanding your audience and what it is that you do. And so because with us on social media, we are more into producing things that people are currently reading now. And so more series type books and really maximizing Kindle Unlimited and the All-Star bonus programs and things along that line that they offer. Now, Shannon is gone now, but Shannon would tell you that I'm more of a business hustler type person. So I try to ride the waves and just try to look at what's going forward from a business aspect. Now, how I conduct my own personal writing is different, but I do recognize that it's another market out there. And so actually for us, everything has been up pretty well during the COVID season just because more people are reading. And so we've just been kind of taking advantage of that and increasing the amount of books that are coming out and within the series size and trying to maximize pages read within Amazon. So, and we're just getting ready now for the upcoming season. We know the holidays, they're going to sell more Kindles, Fires, and there'll be new platforms and more reading. And we just want to make sure we got the most material on there, to get pages read. So, a little different system. But I know I learned a time ago that, you can try to sell 100,000 copies of one book, or you can try to sell 10,000 of 10, or just 1,000 of 100. But it's more 100 books that'll sell 1,000 than it is one book that'll sell 100,000. And so I'm more playing a numbers game.
Okay.
Let's we have to leave. This has been an honor for us to meet you guys and to be able to share. We picked up some good nuggets of information, jewels. But can we get the contact information or email information for everybody so we can stay in contact?
Absolutely.
Well, we already know Jolene, so.
Right.
What I can do is I'll email, have everybody's email. Are you guys okay with me sending your email?
Yeah,
Okay, so I'll send you everybody's email tonight.
And people can
Send it to everybody.
website justusbooks.com.
And there are a lot of children's authors. Are you guys open for submissions while you're here so they'll know?
Yes, but and the submission guidelines are on a tab on our website. So go to justusbooks.com and look under submissions. We're particularly interested in middle readers now, that's 8 to 12, but we're also open for picture book manuscripts and also with our imprint Marimba books. So for both Just Us Books and Marimba books. Yes, definitely.
Marimba, okay. I'm familiar with Marimba, okay. That's all right.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jolene, for the introduction.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want to pivot now, just for a little bit. If you can just drop some distribution jewels on our listening audience? And Quan, can we start with you?
Sure. Distribution is key. Even in the age of, because Amazon has made stuff a whole lot easier if you know
Mm-hmm.
where to look. But distribution is still key. Um, as far as like getting your books in the stores and stuff like that. Like we don't have as many outlets as we did. Like there's no more like the Borders and all that stuff is shut down, but there's still some outlets out there. I know a lot of people use what is it, the Create Space? They're calling it something else now,
Mm-hmm.
Ingram Spark and stuff like that. Something that I personally like to do is I like to go out to the mom and pop bookstores for however few that are still left
Mm-hmm.
and do business with them like that and get it to them like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you definitely need distribution in your life. I mean, it's not so much like at one point it was impossible to really branch out outside of whatever your city was or whatever your local area was unless you got on the road and did it. But it's a little bit of a different game now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm
And
sorry.
Blake,
Yeah, I think like Quan is saying, like you gotta be able to secure the distribution part, especially if you're trying to sell paperbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was saying, Create Space is no longer there. It's just KDP Print now. So you would have to do it through an Amazon account. And even with that, that doesn't mean, we all know that's POD, that's print on demand. So it's not like people can go in the store and your book would be there. It's actually where you have to go in there and place the order. It's more available online. So from that standpoint, if you're looking at the distribution side of it, you have to go out there and try to secure something like maybe an Ingram, or I don't even know if Lightning House is still doing it. Because I do a lot of distribution through Carl. So, for a lot of our people, including my mother was even like this. When your book is on the shelf, to a lot of our people, that means you're a real author. So no matter how much you sell ebook or any other kind of way, until it's actually on a bookshelf, that's what validates you. And so getting that distribution, if that's what you're looking to do, that is something that you got to get out there and do. Now, of course, ebook wise, right now, Amazon just has the platform. I know Apple has got back into the race trying to do something again with iBooks. They haven't been as aggressive with the marketing side of that. So right now, I don't know what the revenue looks like there. It feels like Barnes & Noble is kind of giving up on the ebook side of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless you go with some of the other subs like Smashwords and them guys, right now, KDP from an ebook side is pretty much it that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad that he touched on Smashword and Apple, because I always tell people look into digital to digital, because digital to digital puts you on multiple platforms, multiple retailers, where you'll be able to get your book in those different areas. And I feel that site makes it fairly easy for authors to be able to get their books on Apple. I know, Jaylin, this your thing. That's why I named you last. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to share this information, but then I too have to go. But first, we got to know the difference between our distributors, our wholesalers, which Ingram makes it tricky since they're both a distributor and a wholesaler. But there's a difference between your distributor through your wholesaler. You have your retailers and you have your libraries. There's retail distributors, which a lot of people are talking about. Retail distributors, Amazon, Ingram Spark. If you are a publisher or you're going with the publisher, you want to know who their exclusive distributor is. Who are they going to bed with at night with their books? Who is pitching their books? Anybody can do retail distributors, which is Ingram, which is Amazon. But I'm talking about those distributors, again, you go to bed with, who you are married to, who they are going to pitch your books to the wholesalers, to the resellers. So there is a huge difference. And a lot of times when authors sign with a publisher, they think, well, we got a distributor, Amazon and Ingram. Again, those are retail distributors. With the distributor, your contract's exclusive. There are terms that have to be met. There are quality and condition all your books must adhere to. With the wholesaler, it's not exclusive. The wholesaler is more in favor of the consumer, while the distributor they're in favor of you. So first and foremost, yes, you want the distributor, but know the type of distributor you're dealing with. Even if you're self-published and you're going to put out several titles where you have a nice catalog, even if you're only putting out your books, do your due diligence. Determine, hey, you know, I have enough books out now where I can work with someone outside of Ingram. I can work with someone outside of Amazon. I can work with a distributor, not just a retail distributor. So learn the difference between your distributor and your retail distributor, your wholesaler and their role, the retailers and the libraries, where the libraries like to purchase most of their digital, their ebooks and their audiobooks. And then at the same time, with your independent bookstores and your brick and mortars and your mom and pop shops, you want to know where they are purchasing their books through. Not all of them want to purchase their books through you. Find out who their distributors and wholesalers are, and make sure you can get the books to them. You have like what Rodart more so for like library. So do your due diligence. We hear Ingram, we hear Amazon. There's so many more. I call that putting all your books in one basket or two, but there's so many ways that you can reach your audience on different levels, especially with corporations. I know, again, authors like to say, you know, I'm doing this one book at a time. I'm doing this one book at a time. That's not me. One book at a time takes too damn long. I'm trying to sell cases at a time. So I'm connecting with corporations and organizations. I don't do the one book at a time thing. That sounded good when I first got into this business. But as I learned the business, I'm like, whoa, I can move 300 in the same amount of time as I move one if I just learn the business and make the right connections and learn the terminology and who's for me. And so that it really changes the game. Do your due diligence. Do your due diligence. Learn and connect.
Before you go, because I know you got to go, but I want you to drop your Amazon Marketplace jewel on some of these authors that are clueless, and talk about your event that you do, because you have inspired and helped so many authors to move around on the business side in this industry.
Yes, the Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business. It's a conference I put on every year. It's typically an all in-person conference. We did have to pivot this year because anybody knows when you're doing an event, you start sowing your money and investing into that event a year out. That's so right. The event was September 2020. So I've already cut checks September 2019. I already have a team in place. I already have marketing banners. So checks are cut. But now the city closes down and they looking at me like, I wish you would ask for my money back, you know? So we had to pivot and we had to turn it, you know, into more of a production. So it was like doing a film shoot for 3 days. We had our team of videographers there, you know, our cameras, our photos, where we are packaging it up so that we can sell it. But we felt that information that we shared that 3-day conference, which doubles as an MBA in publishing. It has curriculum that doubles as the MBA in publishing. We said with everyone writing right now, people need to learn this business. So did we make the income we normally would have made? No, but we made the impact. And sometimes the impact has to supersede the income. And when you have a business mind, like I said, you can figure out now how are we going to package this up and get some residual income from this. That's right. So that's what we're working on now. So Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business. My company, Path to Publishing, www.path2publishing.com. You can purchase the curriculum. That's what it is. It's a double. Again, it doubles as the MBA in publishing program. It's one of those events that are geared towards authors elevating, authors leveling up. It is not a, you know, reader-friendly event. It's not teaching you the skills and the craft of writing, because your publishing success is just as important as your writing success.
That's right.
But your publishing success is the return on the investment of the writing process.
That's right.
If that you know, that's sinking in minutes.
Absolutely. Drop your jewel, your Amazon Marketplace jewel. I know that's like an exclusive, but they don't know. They need to know, Joy Lynn. They need to know. You gotta tell them.
I sell my books on Amazon in 3 ways. The average author, they will sell their books on Amazon either probably usually through POD. I sell it 3 ways because Amazon has control over everything. They have control over whether when someone Googles your book, whether somebody can buy it from you or they can buy it from Al, who you put a post on social media saying, hey, anybody want to review my book? Al want to review everybody's book because he got a store on Amazon. He's taking everybody's book and he's selling it. So he's turning your business into his hustle. He's turning your book into his hustle. So I said, wait a minute. If you can't beat them, join them. So I sell my books through the POD. I sell my books through the Amazon marketplace, which means I had to create a store to compete with my own book on Amazon. I called the store Books for Less. So when Amazon decides, when someone wants to come purchase my book through the POD for the full price, $19.95, but then you get that little box that says, also available here, like new, for $3-4 cheaper. That like new is me. But I had to compete against myself because I was on Amazon's game. So not only that, I'm also selling my books through the Advantage. Now, this depends on how hard you're going on the business side. Have you done your market research? Have you done your marketing plan? And have you done your business plan as a whole? Because it's not going to make sense, and it's not going to make sense if you don't realize that my sales will cover this, because there is a fee for I want to say it's the Advantage, the Amazon program. It's like $99 a year. With the marketplace, you're setting up a store. So Amazon's going to get a cut. So in order for me to block out all of these other people trying to sell my books, or Amazon trying to put that sale box to show people you can get my books for $3-4 cheaper, I have to compete with myself 3 different ways. But at the end of the day, the check comes to my P.O. box, and that's all that matters.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you. I just want to say, first of all, thank you. Every time I call on you, you come through. You are always there. All of you are always there. But Joy Lynn, I appreciate you even from the times that you fussed at me. Like, listen, she has fussed at me for like 2 hours straight.
I know. She fussed at me too, Joy Lynn.
For being too nice and not doing what I'm supposed to do for me. But I appreciate you. I appreciate the knowledge that you bring. And I thank you for spending your time, your space, and the energy with us today.
And I only fuss at y'all because you're setting a standard. And so if you don't create that standard, even with your price and if your value, I hear people say all the time, I know my worth, know your worth. It doesn't matter if you know your worth if you're not letting other people know your worth.
That's right.
So when you do a disservice to yourself, you're doing a disservice to me. You're doing a disservice to my daughter. You lowballing. You're not putting out what now we got to pay the price. And so I take it personal because you never know who's going to be on the other side of the desk. You never know who's going to be cutting the check. And there might not be someone with the confidence or the courage you have to stand up and say, whoa, wait a minute, this ain't right. Or this could be better, or I'm worth more. So if you don't do it, if we don't do it, then those under us, even if they want to be hard-headed and don't listen to us, they're going to have even a harder struggle. So I always think about the next person under me. If I don't do this right, if I don't stand up and let people know my worth, then the next person has to suffer for it. So that's the only reason why I fuss, because you in the day, you messing up my money and my family's money.
Well, Joy, you already know how I feel about you, and you are constantly in my ear with what you
are. Absolutely. I appreciate you, Joy Lynn.
All right, thank you. See everybody later. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be in touch.
All righty.
All right, we got the 3 fellas. Resources is our last category. Talk a little bit about resources, writing resources, marketing resources. I remember when I first heard Quan talk. Quan talked about guerrilla marketing and his marketing resources. Sean, talk a little bit about that before you head out.
As far as marketing resources?
Resources, writing resources, marketing resources.
Google's your friend, bro.
That's it.
Google's your friend.
That's
Google can teach you things that a university can't teach you. Some of it is trial and error, but Google will be your first place, I would say. YouTube/Google would be your first place to go.
Mhm.
Everything is not going to work for everyone. So you have to find out what works for you. But that starts with your research, your market research. And a lot of times Google is the first place to start, Google/YouTube. However, recognize that everything isn't going to be on Google because Google, they don't put everything on there as well. You know what I'm saying? We can't rely too much on Google to be our source because it's a business as well, believe it or not. Google makes money by selling things also.
Right.
But as a resource, Google is a great place to start.
Awesome.
And YouTube.
Thank you. What about you, Quan? How do you feel?
Me, I'm old school, man. I believe in being in people's faces. I believe that because like people, and somebody asked me like, yo, when I got with Cash Money in whatever year that was, 2012, 2010, they were like, yo, who does your marketing? And I said, me. And they said, yo, you don't pay. No, me. You have to just find new and innovative ways to make sure that you're in people's faces. I think at least once a day, if not more so, you should talk about your book on your social media platform. Are you talking about who's sleeping with who and who's doing this, who's doing that? Make sure you slide in the fact that you got a book out or you put a book out. So I just kind of do my own thing in that way. Use social media to your advantage. It's free and it's worldwide.
Awesome. And Blake?
And on that
Yeah,
note, I'm sorry.
I mean, I just got to piggyback off of both of them.
Okay, Sean.
Like you said, between Google and with social media, I mean, it's really just if you can't get the resources, it's because you're being lazy. Like it's just it's nothing else. Like if you start, I've Googled plenty of things and started in one place and ended up in a totally different place by the time it's over, whether it's YouTube, a Facebook page or something, and asked a question, got in a group. Just got to get out there and ask those questions. So it's not like before where, like Quan was saying, you had to leave your city to get to somewhere else to find somebody to find. Now, I know what he said. If you get on that Google, it's going to take you somewhere to somebody to something.
Correct.
With the information that'll point you in the direction that you're trying to go. So just don't be lazy about it. But it's out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, there are a lot of different resources. People always ask me about resources. Joy Lynn always says be a resource. And I'm a resource to so many. But there are a lot of authors that are resources. I have this book right here. This is T. Styles' book. Y'all listen. She breaks it down all the way down to even preparing meals, how to be organized. You got Zane. Zane has a writing book like these. I use all of these when I have to help clients. This one got my little bookmarks in it. This is writing fiction. This has my little bookmarks in it. This is a real good one as well. Immediate fiction. This y'all can't see me real good, but this is a real good one as well. And you got to make sure you have those good resources at your fingertips. And yes, Google is your friend, but make sure you get you some hardback resources. And when you are using Google, make sure you are saving those links. Save them in a notepad. Save them in the browser, but make sure you save them so you can get back to stuff. So you can get somewhere. If you get somewhere, you get some good information. Boom. Okay, I need to know where to come back where I learned this. Another good one is self-publishing manual. Yes. When you are self-publishing, you are learning the whole industry. And you have to be able to understand how to move. Everybody talked about having an understanding today. Having good resources are great. And the last thing we want to talk about tonight is editing. I always talk about T. T is the editor. She got that hardcore red pen. But talk a little bit about editing and the importance of a proper edit. Blake?
I mean, like you said, it's part of the process. So, I don't. You can't say that you want to write a book and you're not going and investing in editing. I mean, when you're doing a book, I always tell a person that's just like your business. So it's like saying I'm going to go and do a business without trademarking my name, without getting a business license, without getting an EIN number. Like, it just doesn't make sense to do that. And if you're going to write a book, editing is part of the foundation on putting that book out. You know, so if you don't invest in it, then what would make a person want to invest in reading it?
Right.
Sean?
I think it goes a little. I agree with that, but it goes a little deeper because you got to know where to go to edit. Like one of my taglines that we use for our company, we say that we understand that ain't is a word some places, right? So if you're writing quote unquote urban fiction, you might not want to get a professor to edit your book.
Mhm.
Editing is very important, but it's important that your editor is also versatile, that you go to the right place to get your book edited. Because if not, I see it all the time. Just because your homie got a graduate college, it doesn't mean they're editing. They say to write is human, but to edit is divine. Editing is a very specialized skill.
That's
So whenever
right.
you are getting your editors, make sure you're getting someone who's qualified. Not just, if they have just because they graduated college, that don't mean they're a good editor. They could have graduated college with a law degree. It doesn't mean anything. So make sure when you do edit, first of all, like the brother said, make sure you do get editing, proper editing.
That's right.
That's key. Proper editing.
That's
Because
right.
if you're playing basketball and you're shooting the basketball to a football goal, you're not going to reach the target.
Absolutely. And those that are trying to sign to majors. So this is the one thing that I have learned just being a literary agent. They want that industry. The industry is changing so much as far as what they will accept. And nobody is really giving you money unless you're like a Kevin Hart, right? What they want is a polished manuscript. They want to know that they want to see your grind before they see your grind, basically. They want to know that you're putting your best foot forward. So making sure that your grammar and your errors are in line before you submit those books. Grammarly is your friend. It's not an editing tool, but it's something that helps you in that process to catch some of those things that you will miss on your own. Go ahead, Sean.
Check this out. Amazon is kicking stuff off if it's not edited right now.
Really?
Amazon, absolutely. Amazon will literally send, most of the people complain about it, or if their computers catch it, they'll kick that off. They will send you an email and say, we're going to pull your book in such and such amount of time if you don't correct these errors.
Wow.
Yeah, the standard is being raised, thank goodness.
Absolutely.
Right.
And being able to voice to text. Otter AI is something I use when I do interviews, and I have to get them transcribed if Tony not available. So it's Otter, ATTER AI. It's like $9.99 a month. So you can voice to text. You can record something and have it transcribed. Also, Google Docs. They have a app that you can add to your Google Docs. A lot of people are writing in Google Docs. That app, you can do a voice to transcribe where you can read what it is and be able to have it written out. That saves time too. Another thing is making sure that you're playing back your books and listening to what you are saying at the same time. You can do that through Google Docs as well. I use an app.
Microsoft Word does it too.
Microsoft Word does it. I use an app in my iPad that allows me to do it. Everything got to be in a PDF, but it does work. Go ahead, Tony, because Tony can give you some great tips.
Well, you want me to tip there? You know, editing is important. You know, and excuse me. And I work with quite a few, publishing companies. With Joyland, I'm one of her passive publishing editors, as well as Leisha and Wahida Clark. But if it's not edited, who wants to read it? And you tend to skim over a lot of things because it just takes too much time and it takes the joy out of reading. So definitely get your book edited. And when you do submit it to your editor, make sure it's the best that you can possibly give them. You want them to start off doing what you're paying them to do, which is to edit, not to rewrite your book. And that's one of the biggest things that editors look. We want the best polished work that you can give us so that we can get started, because it just takes away from what we're doing when we have to rewrite your book, and that's not what you're hiring us to do.
Correct.
Absolutely. We so appreciate you guys coming to kick it with us today, sharing your time and your space. I gotta find that app that I use in my iPad. I use Otter, ATTER. It's Otter.ai, and it's $9.99. I use that to transcribe interviews that I need to turn into articles. And then I'm looking for the other app that I use on my iPad, and what it does is it reads back. So I put it in a PDF form, and then I save it in my iPad and I play it back so that I can hear it. Sometimes it gets hard for me just to read things, so I got to listen to it because my hands is always busy. My mind is always busy. It don't cut off. So I find that if I'm listening to a book, I can catch an error faster because you want to listen and read along though. You got to catch that error faster in your ear, and then you can go back and say, no, that line didn't sound right, because you got to go line by line like your editor is going to go line by line. Your writing coach is going to go line by line with you, and they're going to say, does this line sound right? So sometimes if you don't have that, you got to make sure you use tools that give you the ability to do that, and making sure you're listening to it while you're reading with it at the same time. You got to pick up on those things and say, no, this is not right. Oh no, this don't sound right. Nope, that word spelled wrong. You got to catch a lot of your errors that way. Go ahead, Sean.
No, I was going to say you interfere in my money now. That's what I teach my writers. That's a cheat code. Seriously though, I'll give that one for free. That's a cheat code. When you read out loud, you catch, not only will you catch errors, but you will catch the flow of your book too.
Right.
Reading it out loud, because the brain works differently when you're reading silently than when you're reading orally. So that's correct. That's a cheat code. Thank you for giving my secrets away. Thank you.
That was your secret. That was one of my secrets.
You know, especially, Sean, when authors rewrite, so they start to see things that they may not necessarily be seeing.
Correct.
You know, it's so important to read that work out loud.
Absolutely.
But and also,
early myself.
all right, and making sure that your mind is clear. Thank you, Sean. Making sure your mind is clear. You can't, if your mind is clogged up with thoughts, it's going to come out in your book. Your readers are going to be able to see your naked soul in your pen. They can see if you are distracted. They're going to be able to see if for some reason you're not feeling a chapter. It's going to come out in your pen. A reader picks up on all of that. So you have to make sure that your mind is clear. If you got other thoughts, make sure that you're keeping notes somewhere. Make sure that you are clearing your mind. If you get tired of seeing chapter 44, they're going to get tired of reading chapter 44. So you got to make sure that you are fresh eyes on your work. Once you get tired, that's okay. Start writing something else or do something else and then come back to it. Blake, any last words?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. So.
But thanks for joining us.
For having me.
We appreciate you always.
Thank you.
Absolutely, y'all. Listen, we thank you guys for coming to kick it with us today in the chat room. You know, our whole goal today was to invoke thought, advancement, and elevation to you guys. I hope that you guys all got some jewels out of this segment. I hope that you guys got ways to better market yourself. I hope that you guys got ways to just light a fire under your vision and your brand. You know, branding is very important. And you have to understand that you're a brand before you're anything else. And anything that disrupts your brand is a distraction. And you have to make sure that you are not distracted from your brand. T, any last words for you?
No, we took a lot of notes because a lot of jewels would drop tonight. And we had such a diversified guest list that we appreciate everything that they shared tonight.
Absolutely. Children's authors. I don't know how many are on here. Just Us Books has a submission. Make sure y'all go to their website. I'm going to drop it on my social media. Y'all listen. We have writing coaches on here. Sean St. Clair, writing coach. Quan, writing coach. Listen, I do writing coaching. So Tony is an editor. She's a hardcore editor. Y'all listen. We talk about this for y'all that listen to the show. Y'all know I always talk about Tony. Y'all remember back in the day when y'all had that paper y'all had to write and you was doing your thing. You had your cookies and your chips and you was like, ooh, you was getting it. And then you went to school all proud with your chest all out. You was ready. You got that paper back and was like, what? This teacher don't like me. She don't like me. Listen, all the red marks in the world, and that's T. T will be like, and then she'll make sure she tell you, oh, this paper's real good right here. Let me tell you, but you have to have somebody like that in your space. You have to have somebody like that in your space. I'm writing my own books, and she keeps me on point. She be like, Leash, that's not gonna work right there. But it is funny because I always say I need me Alicia, and I do have me Alicia because Tony is my Alicia. Because when people ask me, can you read my book? What do you think? Do you really want to know what I think? Because I'm gonna tell you. I just was talking to an author yesterday, and just different things that I had noticed, but I didn't say anything until they asked me. So when you ask me, I'm gonna tell you. I went all the way down the list, right down to her bio. Like, listen, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna sidestep it. You know, if I hold your hand, I'm only gonna hold your hand for about 5 minutes before I send you off to do it yourself, because you know these are things that are important. And I hope that all of you were able to get something from today's show. We dropped knowledge about distribution, children's books, writing, marketing, everything that you can think about, resources. Listen, make sure y'all share this broadcast, because somebody else is going to get some jewels, and that's our responsibility when we get information to pass that information on and make sure that other people can benefit from these different things that we experience. So make sure you guys share this broadcast out. So many authors can experience this. You can see this again on our replay here on our Facebook page, which is Let's Chat Radio, Ebony TV, which is scrolling down the bottom, and our YouTube page, which is Let's Chat. You know, we'll have snippets and things of that nature that we're going to put on social media. But listen, we didn't cover everything. We couldn't cover everything, but I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And if you have questions, drop us an inbox. Send us the email. If you want to be a guest on the show, send your request to thechatradioshow@gmail.com. We're getting ready to slow down for the year. November the 20th is going to be our last show. So if you want to get into Let's Chat, send your request in. If you want to do Let's Chat live, lives do come with a fee. The radio is always and will be free. But the live show does come with a fee. But send your request in. We'll give you all of that information. If you want to be able to contact Tony as far as editing, drop your information for that.
Absolutely. If you like to get with me for editing, you can visit my website at bookwriteediting.com, or you can send me an email at bookwriteediting@gmail.com. And I didn't get a chance to thank Joy Leach that I was the 2020 Path to Publishing Editor of the Year. So I was wanting to thank her. I didn't get a chance to tell her in person, but I did speak to her about it, and I work hard, Leach. I work hard, girl.
See that, y'all? Listen, I tell Tony. I told her the other day. I was like, this time next year, you're gonna be retired because she works. I'm like, you're not gonna be able to work. She's gonna have so many publishers and authors just at her doorstep.
You know, I just got a new one.
Yeah, just got a new one. That's how hardcore she is. When I say she hardcore. She about it. But we appreciate you guys. We thank you guys. And we will see you guys on next week.
Good night.
Exclusive on EBNY.TV Podcast Channel.